content, one from many.
Okay, so on the live stream side, sorry about that, everyone. It looks like something happened with the streaming thing there. I just realized midway through the intro that there was no audio showing. So, I believe. Let's see. Can everyone hear us now? Yeah, go ahead and unmute yours and just to verify here. On my side, it's showing now that there's audio, but yeah, there was some kind of error. So yeah, apologies about that. I guess we'll go ahead and just start from the top again and just let you guys all welcome you guys all here to our live stream. Thank you guys for joining us that are here with us live. Robert, hello, and thank you for letting us know there. I don't know what happened there. It's kind of weird. Glad I looked down at the thing because it just has a little bar that bounces with the sound. And midway through the thing, I looked down. I'm like, wait a minute, there's nothing going on there.
Yeah.
And it made sense why maybe nobody's in the chat because we would have just been sitting there talking like mimes. So,
okay.
But yeah, we're here for Roundtable 121. And if you just came in the last little bit and you just saw us sitting here awkwardly, silently, it's because I was trying to fix the audio, and technically the intro was coming through our headphones.
I was playing. I was listening to it.
But it wasn't coming through for you guys. So hello, Zach. We're here for 121. Let's go ahead and hit the intro for real this time so you guys can actually hear it, and then get started here.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own Palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland, to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the Palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, The Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for Roundtable 121. And we are, now about getting close to the halfway point of the year. So I don't know if that exactly follows with where we're at here, because problem is we have our little calendar, but I usually hide the old dates. So it's kind of hard to tell if we're halfway. But yeah, it should be mathematically pretty close to about our halfway point of the year. Let's go ahead and hit the intro real quick, and then we'll cover some calendar notes. And then we'll go ahead and get started in the full-on episode here. So first of all, we want to warn you guys about spoilers. This is a roundtable, so if you guys have not finished the 7 primary books of the Dark Tower series, you may want to cry off this episode and stick to our book clubs. Our book clubs are mostly spoiler-free. We have 5% of the episode that is spoiler-filled, but we keep that to the very end of the episode, and we make sure that it's very clear to you as listeners when that is happening, so you can listen to 95% of the episode, and then once you get to the warning, you can just turn the episode off and you'll be fine if you're not finished with the series. But with those 95% of the episodes, we stay where we're at or before, so those are safe places to listen. Just avoid that spoiler section at the very tail end. But in these episodes, though, spoilers come all the time. Usually it isn't even planned, it just happens. So definitely be aware of that, as well as we're going to hit some other King properties. I don't know, I guess I'm trying to think if there's anything like that jumps out to looking at the thing. I guess there's a couple Salem's Lot
Firestarter's the big
things.
one.
Firestarter, we're going to have a big section at the end here in our Palaver section talking about the new movie, and we'll keep that toward the end as well. So if you haven't seen it yet, you can always listen to that later or whatever. But yeah, we'll have a number of different spoiler things there. Next up, if you want to find us podcast-wise, you can find us on Apple Podcasting. You can stream us on Spotify or Stitcher. You can find us on any podcasting service, really. If you want to subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those, we'd appreciate that. Then if you want to find the show notes, you can do that over at darktowerpalaver.com. Basically, darktowerpalaver.com is your hub for all things Dark Tower Palaver. We've got basically links to everything that we're covering right now, as well as to our shows, our merchandise, YouTube, Facebook, everything over there. As well as we have our new questions for new questions for new listeners. If you're a new listener and you want to email us and introduce yourself, those questions are a good way we've found over the years for people to do that. Kind of like where we're at in our book club right now is the quartet is introducing each other, getting on the same
stories,
page.
yeah.
Everyone's sharing their stories, kind of getting up to speed with each other, and that's kind of what our questions have always been intended to be. Is for you as a member of our extended quartet, because if you are new, you are part of that now. It's for you to introduce yourself and let us know who you are. And those questions, you can answer one of them, you can answer all of them, anywhere in between. But go ahead and grab those on darktowerpalaver.com and email them to us, for instance. That's a good way to introduce yourself. And then next up, if you want to contact us, you can do that in a number of ways that Peter can let you know.
The best way to reach us is through email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. And then we stream our shows here on YouTube. It's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, ring the bell to get notifications for when we go live. And when we also drop bonus content, like we do on YouTube, we already have our right from the theater initial reaction from Firestarter. We also reacted to
which
the
was
Firestarter
19
trailer.
minutes.
19 minutes? Perfect.
I mean, there were some seconds in there too, but
No, it's 19 minutes.
Yeah.
We round down. It doesn't matter. But check that out on YouTube. And then our social media is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Our Twitter is @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. And then our Instagram is darktowerpalaver, all one word. And then our merchandise is available. It's tpublic.com/users/darktowerpalaver. You got the logo proper, which is just the Dark Tower Palaver that Tad's got on. And then you got the more awesome one, who one of our Patreons I found out just got one today. #Tad is terrible.
the slanderous shirt.
This is the truth. Check it out.
No,
And then
blame
either-
is the truth.
And either one of those formats you can get on multiple different things. Shirts, there's hoodies, tank tops, pillows. Tad has a pillow
Yeah.
around here somewhere. I don't know
Yeah.
where it is. Stickers, mouse pads, posters. You can just get a poster of the logo and put it up on your wall. Speaking
Yeah.
of which, did some rearranging of the bedroom. Got a new dresser and new nightstand and everything like that. Found my old Idris Elba Dark Tower poster that we snagged.
Oh, yeah?
I think you snagged for me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got that. I found that. I forgot to put it up. I also found Chris's Dark Tower timeline.
Mm.
And I'm like, this has got to go up now.
Yeah.
Like, I cleaned off some wall space from some old posters about a year ago. I haven't put anything else up, so I'm like, I got to put this up somewhere.
Yeah, and like I have plenty of room in my room, but here in the office, my wall space is fairly limited,
Yeah.
so I don't have a lot of space, unfortunately. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to put up for sure.
So we were asking in the YouTube intro, and I just want to cover this now. Is it Fairy Tales or Fairy Tale for Stephen King's new book that comes out later this year?
In September.
It is Fairy Tale.
Oh, okay.
Singular, not
Okay.
plural. So just to clarify that, because I know we did say that in the beginning. I don't want to leave YouTube out
Yeah,
and forget about that.
yeah, and then also, I guess nobody heard it because we had a technical issue, but I also warned in the YouTube intro, just letting everyone know, I spent most of the last week sick. So my voice is a little bit weaker than it would normally be, so please excuse if my voice is strained at all during this episode.
He's got the Captain Trips.
It is getting close to that time of year.
I know
here.
it is, and that's what scares me.
I was just thinking about that recently. I was
you
like,
gonna do your yearly one?
I'm like 8 hours left of Black House.
When
so
that's done, that's it's about the right time to
it probably will be, man, because I'm
take a drive with old Campion there, across Nevada.
Old Randy Flagg. Can't wait to go hang out with my boy.
Gross.
In his biggest starring role in the entire King universe.
Robert says monkeypox.
Because there is no bigger star in the stand than Mr. Randall Flagg, of course. That's
Yeah, and that's the problem. Is he went boom.
too soon. But yeah, let's go ahead and now that the warning's out of the way there. But yes, the next thing I want to talk about is the calendar. So we're on here. We're on the 21st. And then normally we'd be back in a fortnight from now for episode 122. But we're actually doing something a little bit different for the month of June. We're actually doing a combined 1 day big old
Streamapalooza.
yeah, big old recording. So we're actually going to be doing Roundtable 122 at basically 2 o'clock on normal time, which is about an hour previous to where it is now if you're listening to us live. So it'll be an hour earlier than it is now. What would that be? 4 o'clock Pacific or Eastern? Yes.
You keep doing that. What's up with that?
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
You did that 2 weeks ago?
No, nobody ever listed Pacific, like TV and stuff back when we were kids.
No, it's always 5 Eastern, 4 Central.
Yeah, exactly. It was stuff like that. So I don't know why I'm referencing Pacific, because that was never a thing.
No.
So I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was reading that World War II Pacific theater thing, and then Pacific stuck in my head. I don't know. But yeah, so we'll be going from 2 to 4. We'll be doing Roundtable 122. And then around 4:15, we'll take a little bit of a break. From 4:15 till about 6:15-ish or so, we will do Book Club number 16. So that'll be a little bit of a long, well, we've
done longer.
Yeah, we've done longer.
We actually looked that up, but we have done quite a few that are longer than that.
But we're going to do 2 episodes back to back. So be aware of that. So basically all of June, that'll be our only episode. On the podcast side, if you join us live, you can hear both of those right away. If you check us out on YouTube, you can find those pretty much as soon as they're done airing. YouTube posts them pretty much immediately. But on the podcast feed though, the book club the roundtable will be late. A little bit. Basically, Roundtable 122 will be 3 weeks from now, not 2 weeks from now. But the book club Wastelands, we will hold to the normal time that would have come out, which would be the 18th. So it will be in your podcast feed on the normal time. So if you just listen to the podcast in this traditional fashion, nothing's going to really change on the second episode, but the first episode will be 1 week late. So just be aware of that. Because that is a very big change from what we normally do, and that will be the one. If you're one of our live chat folks or anything, you will only have the one day in June that we will be recording. So be aware of that. Definitely strange, but and I also do have it set up on YouTube for those notifications. I have them set up properly. I don't know if it shows you though, generally speaking, what time. Because I was kind of looking at that, and it showed both episodes that they showed the same date. But of course, they're on the same day. They're just a couple hours apart. So, be aware of that. And I'm sure as we get closer, it may show you the time of the day.
It does show you the time of the day.
Does it show it?
Yeah, underneath the little thumbnail. Dark Tower Palaver scheduled for 6/11/22 at 2 p.m. And then here's scheduled for 6/11/22 at 4:15 p.m.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I didn't know if it would show that or not.
Yep.
So yeah, that's
I guess that's something you wouldn't see as the person like scheduling them probably.
Yeah. A lot of times, sometimes I'll jump on like incognito mode and then pull up youtube.com/darktowerpalaver and then see what it looks like from a normal viewer's perspective. But I didn't for that for some reason. So let's go ahead and dive in real quick, or dive into the news. So it's always fun to get into the news here. And the first one gives us a good picture to look at too. One of the more terrifying Stephen King creatures from film, or not even film, it's from television, but still one that freaks people out quite a bit is the original Salem's Lot vampire there. But yeah, this one is called Salem's Lot Remake, will release only in theaters this September. Kind of a short article, but this is the first confirmation that it will be theatrical only, and it will not be splitting up with streaming like Firestarter did.
Yeah.
This is by John Squires from Bloody Disgusting on April 22nd, 2022. That is a lot of twos. He says, while we're waiting for a trailer, Warner Brothers has confirmed this afternoon that their new take on Stephen King's vampire story, Salem's Lot, is coming exclusively to theaters later this year, currently set for September 9th, 2022. This will actually be the first time this particular King classic has ever been on the big screen, as both previous adaptations were made for TV. The September 9th date isn't new news, but it's been around for about a year since we heard a peep about the project, so it's good to know that the original plan still remains for this one. James Wan is producing Salem's Lot 2022 for Warner Brothers and New Line with Gary Dauberman, which did It, The Nun, Annabelle Comes Home, writing the script and also directing.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good little list there for us.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think the Annabelle movie was the first one that he did fully. I know he wrote the It movies, and then I think he wrote The Nun. But yeah, then James Wan being involved there. But yeah, I thought it was a good thing because honestly, we haven't really heard anything about Salem's Lot for a while. The date's been given to us, like this article mentions, a long time ago. Well, maybe not a long time ago. It's been months and months now since they announced the date for it. But we haven't heard diddly squat since. We haven't seen a trailer yet. You and I were thinking that we might see a trailer with Firestarter. And honestly, we didn't. But honestly, the trailer has to be coming really quick.
It's got to be soon.
Yeah, it has to be really soon.
And again, like we were talking about in the intro, that's one of the things that we're going to post on YouTube is that when we do have a trailer drop, I will be coming over sometime after work and figuring out a time where we can record a little video or just watch the trailer and react to it.
Yeah, like we did with Firestarter.
Exactly.
That was our first YouTube exclusive. So we're definitely planning on that. But yeah, I will say my gut tells me there used to be a Twitter feed that I followed that basically somehow had an inside knowledge to like the ratings board, and all trailers were given to ratings boards and stuff, and they would find that kind of stuff and kind of give you a good idea. But unfortunately, that guy stopped doing that about a year ago. He moved on to a different thing in the entertainment industry, so that is no longer a resource. Because that's the kind of thing that used to give me little hints to when trailers might be coming, is because you get word that like, oh, Warner Brothers got this trailer rated for exhibition, then you knew it was coming pretty quick. But fortunately, that's not around anymore. But I do have a feeling. We're not that far away from September, so we're basically almost all the way through May now. So September is not that far. So yeah, I'm sure a teaser is coming very soon. So we will be ready for that, and keep an eye on YouTube because we will be here to react to it.
Mike says, I'm curious about the runtimes. That seems like a long story to fit into a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah, that's definitely true. It'll be interesting to see as we get closer to the actual, like when it gets rated and stuff, usually is when the runtime gets locked down and stuff. It'll be interesting to see what the runtime is on that one. So
yeah, I'm curious too, because Salem's Lot, the one thing with Salem's Lot is that I can see that there's a little bit of fat that you could trim if you cut out a lot of the excess side stories. The mom of the baby, Danny Glick, you kind of want to keep him. But there is some excess there with, going after his friend. Oh, shoot, I just spaced on the boy's name. It's the main character boy.
Is it Petrie?
Is it?
I
can't remember his first name.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he goes after the Petrie boy and he tries to get him, and he goes after his brother and all that kind of stuff. I think there's a little bit there. You got the cemetery with like the dog and everything like that.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit there that you could trim off, but Mike's not wrong. Like if you take just the meat of it, like the meat of the story, it's still pretty lengthy.
Yeah.
It's still going to be take up a lot. You're going to have to cut out something, right?
Yeah, probably, but we'll see what happens. I mean, it was made into 2 movies, and that probably could have been 4 movies. So
easily.
Yeah, so it could definitely be done, certainly. So Mark Petrie, yeah,
Mark.
I knew I had I thought Petrie was right, but Glick was stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Yes. So that should be fun. Will be theaters only, which is awesome. Can't wait to see it. I'm pretty excited for that. That's kind of one of my dark horse favorite King stories is Salem's Lot. Not necessarily one that I'll immediately think of like The Stand or anything, but it's one that I really enjoy quite a bit. So looking forward to a new version of that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this next one is going to be a lot of fun.
See, now I don't know what to think with that, because this could be where you're like, the Dark Tower is dead, and Stephen King announces that he's never going to do another one. Because what is fun for you is seeing me in pain, or this could actually be good news. See, I don't know. You're a horrible person.
So this one is titled "Moments in Stephen King Adaptations That Went Too Far."
Oh yes, this is gonna be fun.
This is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So basically, the way I want to approach this is this person came up with a list of things that they feel the adaptations went too far. This isn't King. This is the adaptations.
Okay.
So this isn't even. There's already a prediction in the chat there. Baseball boy.
Oh jeez.
This isn't even like throwing shade at King. This is throwing shade at the adapters of King. So the way I want to approach this is first of all, I want to get your thoughts. I mean,
okay.
Mike already jumped up in front of you there a little bit and predicted one. I'm sure it's one that you probably would have guessed anyway. Yeah. Any other ones that come to mind? And then the other part of it is when we actually go through them, I want to hear if you agree or disagree, because I disagree across the board. There's no such thing as going too far at all. Like it's just not.
Of course,
it's not possible. Like that's the whole point of horror, is to push the boundaries. So I disagree across the board. But you're someone that has more of a soul and a heart and stuff. So it may be something that you could weigh in and go tit for tat and kind of tell me agree or disagree as we go through and read them. But what do you think? What are any of the predictions?
Mrs. Macy in The Shining comes to mind. That's grotesque and just I don't need to see that. No one needs to see that. It could have been done in a different way.
Oh
you know?
no, I love, dude.
No, again,
That-
we know how you stand on all of this.
That one,
so.
I've talked to so many people that are so like still scarred by that. There was actually somebody I talked to in the last couple months that said that they still can't go into a bathroom without opening the shower curtain, and it's because of that scene, room 237.
Make sure there's not a
The
dead
Shining.
woman laying in there.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people like that over the years. That are, I guess that's actually kind of a normal like paranoia for people, as if they go into a bathroom and the shower curtain's closed, which of course makes all homeowners nervous, because a lot of homeowners will close this curtain just because they're like, I don't want to scrub the shower, so I'll just close the curtain and nobody can see, the dirty shower or whatever. But yeah, apparently there's a lot of people that will open it because they're paranoid
Okay.
that killer might
So
be
this is
behind
this is just adaptation, so not Stephen King proper.
it. Yes. Yep, that is true. So let's go ahead and jump in. It's Benjamin Falbo from Looper on April 26, 2022. And he, with his intro here, he kind of lays it out. He says, very few writers, horror or otherwise, have achieved the widespread success and mainstream notoriety that Stephen King has. Even if you never gleaned awareness of the man's creations, you more than likely know them through pop culture or osmosis, which is true. Off the top of your head, what do you think are the most osmosis element King things? Like someone's never touched Stephen King in their life. What do you think they know? Pennywise,
That's
The Shining, I
The
think.
Shining and Pennywise, I think, are the two.
Yeah, those are the big ones. I think Misery.
Misery's up there too,
Is up
but
there.
I think it's a little bit more niche. You have to actually kind of know a little bit more about literature to know what Misery is. Like,
I don't know. The movie's pretty iconic.
I guess that's true.
That's the thing for me, is the movie's pretty iconic. It's still the only Stephen King thing that's brought Oscar gold. So yeah, I think that's
my favorite dog species gets slandered pretty hard because
Cujo. No, Cujo's a big one.
Cujo is
like that's like ubiquitous. Like you hear people, they'll see a dog. When I was a kid, we had a cat that was like really temperamental, and I remember people called it Cujo.
Yeah.
So like Cujo's pretty ubiquitous.
It's funny how certain animals in Hollywood.
Robert just called out Cujo.
There you go.
Yep, exactly.
There is certain animals that, mastiffs are kind of feared a little bit because of Sandlot. Those big giant dogs. Is that what it is? Is a mastiff? I think it is.
I don't.
think
It's not
it
a
is.
real dog. I mean, most of it's an animatronic, so I don't think it's meant to be.
I mean, there is a real dog that played it, but
Yeah, for a couple scenes. Most of it, though, it's a freaking robot. So
yeah. But still, I mean, like that dog. That's what if you say
can't trust huskies. You got to chase them with helicopters and shoot at them because they're evil. They're monsters.
No,
Yes.
that's an alien, not a husky.
That's coming out this year to theaters again.
Yeah, Hollywood did not do the great white shark any favors. It's not just dogs, really. I mean, it is animals across the board. I mean,
Aliens as well.
yeah, true.
If it wasn't for movies, I'm sure aliens would be far more trusted than they are.
I mean,
but yeah,
they started off Bigfoot really shitty, and I mean, I've seen Harry and the Hendersons. He's a lovable guy. Give him a hug.
all right. So then he goes on and says, that being said, much like any prolific creator, King has often crossed a few lines in terms of his work, be it his own writing or the decisions made regarding the countless cinematic adaptations of it. There have been many moments that were that were of questionable taste, whether it be an overly violent moment or something utterly embarrassing. So that's kind of a key there, is we're not just talking over the top in terms of violence. There may also be going too far in terms of just shitty.
Like making a change that really makes no fucking sense and is just shitty for the adaptation.
Yeah, there's one that we'll get to
Okay.
that's it's more about almost being embarrassed because of how poorly it was done. And it says there are moments in King adaptations that went there are moments in Stephen King adaptations that went too far. So
Is the Karate Chop on the list?
I wish.
Oh,
I wish. Oh man, did I miss anything in the chat here?
Josh says the scariest dog to me is a Chihuahua, and I got to agree. I hate Chihuahuas. I do not like Chihuahuas.
I'd make a Taco Bell reference, but I feel like the last time they used that dog in their advertising is probably 20 years ago. So
Date you a little bit, make you feel old.
yeah, pretty much. I remember when the Godzilla movie was coming out in 2000,
God, I was just thinking about that.
and the Chihuahua was like trying to hunt or capture Godzilla. Yeah.
And then he catches them and he's like, "Hey, Godzilla, you want anything?"
God. Oh man. All right. So first up, we've got the shower scene from Carrie.
Oh.
So, as Peter cringes there, yes, there will be some a little bit of humiliation here. Maybe not Scott's Tots level of anything, but it is certainly
I got made fun of by my wife last night. I was watching something online and it got too awkward and I turned it off and she's like, was that the end of the video or did you just not like it? And I'm like, no, you know why I turned it off. And she goes, too embarrassing, huh? Too awkward? I'm like, yep. And she's like, make sure to tell Tad tomorrow. I was like, all right, I will.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yep.
And then Mike says, but that's pretty close to the book. And the thing is, I don't think any of these are necessarily like that they went too far beyond what King did in the book. These are just things that he's kind of just pointing out adaptations. And we'll get into his reasonings here. But yeah, just some of these things King is not completely absolved of blame.
No.
But it is ultimately the adaptations that he's aiming at. But Mike's right, though. King, this is pretty spot on from King. So maybe this one's a dual blame here.
Yeah.
It says Carrie is noteworthy for many reasons, not the least of which is that it's the first major adaptation of Stephen King's writing. Actually, it's the first adaptation at all, not just major. I mean, it only came out like 2 years after the book, so I don't know what else would have come out.
I'm going to look
me.
that up. No worries. We know how it is.
It also has two of the best performances ever featured in a King adaptation, courtesy of Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie, both of whom were nominated for Oscars. I actually didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah, I knew. I know that I just referenced it earlier. Misery is the only one that we got an Oscar won for a King project. But yeah, apparently both Sissy and Piper were nominated for Oscars for Carrie. Did you know that?
I did not. I did not know that at all.
Yeah, I had never. I guess I haven't done enough research into the Oscar stuff when it comes to King. But what makes the film?
Yeah, Carrie's absolutely the first.
Yeah. Like I said, it says major, but I'd have to say it's the first period. What makes the film such a memorable watch is just how much sympathy you end up feeling for Carrie. Not only does she receive abuse from a religious fanatic of a mother, but she also is victimized by the girls at school. This is immediately shown to us in a cruel and embarrassing fashion as possible in the film's opening sequence. We see Carrie having a shower after gym when unfortunately she has her very first period, much to her embarrassment since her mother never informed her about it. This leads to her fellow classmates taunting her, laughing at her, and even throwing tampons at her. Despite the supernatural horror that the film is known for, this might honestly be the hardest scene to watch. It's quite cruel and might hit a bit too close to home for anyone that was bullied back in high school.
Oh, yeah.
So, what do you think? Agree, disagree with this? Does this scene go too far?
No. It sets the tone for the whole movie.
Yeah, and I think yeah, exactly.
I think how do you set the tone for Carrie if you don't have this? I mean, you could do some kind of other bullying scene.
And I don't even think it's just the tone, but it's like the motive, right?
Yeah.
Like this is I mean, technically, obviously there's more that happens later that completely sparks things. But I feel like
the pig's blood is symbolic of this happening.
Exactly. So it's like
because this whole thing, I mean, it's all cause and effect here with Carrie. This happens. The girls get detention for bullying her.
Yeah.
Chris stands up. Is it Chris that stands up and says no? Is that the one, or is Chris the good girl who lets Tommy take her to?
I think she's the good one.
Chris the good one.
I thought so. I think so. But it's
the other one, the bitch.
Yeah.
Basically, the character's a bitch. She stands up to the teacher, gets smacked, and gets kicked out of prom, homecoming.
Yeah.
And that's where she decides that she's going to prank Carrie, and that's where she comes up with the blood because it's associated with this.
Yeah.
It's one chain of events that happens within, a
and
month
also,
or so.
from the film perspective, without this scene, the end doesn't work. There's no way that the audiences would be, and I don't want to say the audiences are okay with what Carrie does, but that you have to at least feel that she's somewhat justified in what she's doing, and it doesn't work without that first scene.
Mm-hmm.
The pig's blood isn't enough. If the whole movie was just completely normal, and then the pig's blood scene happened and she fucking butchered everyone, no, audiences wouldn't dig that. That wouldn't feel right.
No.
There needs to be more on the scales of justice to justify the wholesale slaughter that we get there at the end.
And Josh says, in my opinion, only one King scene goes too far, and it was never adapted. All the rest is kind of writing real life or believable storytelling. I'm kind of with Josh on that, but I get where people are coming from with this scene, is especially back from 1976 when this came out. Holy hell, that was shown. I mean, that's pretty risque, for back then. In my mind, I mean, Halloween didn't. Halloween came out 2 years later.
Yeah.
and barely
Well,
showed.
wait, 76 and 77, isn't it? It's a year apart?
I thought Halloween came out in 78.
Or yeah, 78. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking 77 Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, because I always thought that they were
Yeah.
the same year, and you had to correct me on that multiple times. So, I look at a horror movie like Halloween, which now, God, some of these horror movies that come out,
Yeah.
the slasher. Well, not, I shouldn't say come out now because horror films have definitely taken a turn.
Yeah.
But there was a time, early 2000s, late 90s, where some of these, or even the 80s, some of these horror movies were coming out with, Jesus Christ, some of these were softcore pornography with a little bit of violence sprinkled in.
That's
Good
true.
God.
It's true.
And then, Halloween didn't have that. That was before all that started happening. But this having, you have nudity of high school girls. And nowadays that's, hell,
that happens in most horror movies because almost horror movies it's high school kids.
High school age, or the counselors are a little bit older in Friday the 13th and stuff like that.
They're high school kids.
I guess that's true. I didn't think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah,
That's
they're all
interesting.
played by 20-year-olds, but
That's true.
they're still
Sometimes 30-year-olds.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, there is that one. Let's go ahead and so you disagree with that one again. I will wholesale say I disagree with all of these. But next up, the stairway scene from The Shining. And we'll get into his explanation here. He says, when it comes to adaptation of Stephen King's work, The Shining definitely strays far from its source material. Ever since the film's 1980 release, it's been a frequent talking point regarding the various ways that the film differs from the book. However, one aspect of the Stanley Kubrick film adaptation that was perfectly replicated was Jack Torrance's gradual descent into madness, which I completely disagree with because that is nowhere in Kubrick's film. Jack is crazy from the first fucking frame that he's in. So disagree with the guy, with Mr. Benjamin here, because no, there is no slow slip to madness in Kubrick's film.
He's crazy from the first scene.
Yeah, it's Jack Nicholson, for Christ's sake. He can't not be crazy. He says this is due in no small part not only to Kubrick's impeccable direction, but the performance of the legendary Jack Nicholson. Nicholson's masterful commanding of legitimate menace and morbid humor is best showcased in Wendy. Shelley Duvall, Jack's wife, discovers his manuscript. What she finds are reams and reams of paper plastered with the words "all work and no play make Jack a dull boy." This leads to a tense sequence where Wendy, armed with a bat, attempts to defend herself from Jack, threatening her with violence. It's a great scene with a rather unpleasant backstory, as it is revealed that Duvall's tearful state was unfortunately all too real. Ever the perfectionist, Kubrick forced Duvall to do this scene a grand total of 127 times via The Hollywood Reporter, until he was satisfied. While the scene itself did turn out excellent, one cannot deny that Kubrick likely went too far. So
it's not the scene itself; it's the making of the scene that went too
and knowing
far.
what's behind the fact that Shelley Duvall was basically tortured psychologically on the set of this film.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you don't make someone do 127 takes. There's going to be something in there that you can use in the first 50.
Yeah, first 20, dude.
Jesus Christ.
Honestly, I know there's a lot of directors that are like this, and I don't respect any of them, to be honest with you. There's a couple things for me that completely lose all respect for directors, like William Friedkin for The Exorcist. The fact that the main actress broke her back, the mom.
Yeah.
And there's also the thing where at one point he fired a blank firearm with a blank in it to scare everyone. Shit like that's just not safe. And so to me, safety, fuck the director and fuck their vision if people's safety is at risk. And then two, this whole self-indulgent, I'm going to do 150 takes of something. And he's not the only one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of directors, and a lot of the times it's these auteur directors, and I just don't respect that. Fuck you. Everyone involved has a lot better things they could be doing with their life than doing 150 fucking takes of your stupid ass fucking scene, that was easily done in the first 20 takes.
Well, it also is.
Usable
it's also, let's just be perfectly honest, it's not healthy. That's like your boss or my boss coming to us and being like, hey, go do this really shitty thing, hundreds of times over and over again. Yes, I am. It is part of your job, but I'm going to go above and beyond to torture you. Dude, no one puts up with that in everyday work. And, and it makes me wonder how Shelley handled that afterwards and if it affected her career and her choices with acting and stuff.
It certainly did.
That shit bothers the hell out of me. Then it's just selfish.
Yeah.
It's just Kubrick, I have to get what's mine, and fuck you, It doesn't matter about you, as long as I get what I need.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's how I view all those directors that do that kind of stuff, because it's just it's self-indulgent, and it's just I just don't respect it at all. I know some people do, and there's a lot of people there's directors that are beloved that do that kind of thing. And I just don't. That's just one of those things that loses some respect for a director for me when they do stuff like that.
Agreed.
So the next one, and this of course was definitely going to be here, The Ending of The Mist.
Oh God.
So based on the eponymous novel The Mist, was directed by Frank Darabont, best known for helming the first season of The Walking Dead, which another one I disagree with. He is not best known for The Walking Dead. Best known for one of the greatest films of all time.
Most recently known for The Walking Dead should be.
But even then, I don't think a lot of people even realize he was involved with The Walking Dead anymore. That show's been on for so long and stuff, and he was only involved in the first season and a half. No, there's a couple of nitpicks I had with this article, and that was certainly one. You telling me that Shawshank Redemption is not what he's best known for? But then,
if it's not, it should be.
That aside, much like the long-running zombie series, Darabont's adaptation of King's story focuses on the human conflict amidst otherworldly circumstances. The scenario here takes the place in a small town that ends up covered in a mysterious mist, which hides legions of Lovecraftian horrors. While the monsters tear the town apart, the citizens stuck in the supermarket grow closer and closer to tearing each other apart as well.
Only for one reason. That bitch.
Near the end of the film, David, Thomas Jane, and his son Billy, and a few survivors flee the supermarket and attempt to drive through the mist. This unfortunately leads them to running out of gas, causing the group to make it a tough and tragic call. In order to spare them from the death at the hands of the monsters, David kills them all with the remaining gun. This, however, is shown to be all for nothing, as mere moments after the mist dissipates, the National Guard arrives. In terms of a dour ending, there is likely few that are more gutting and infuriating than the closing moments of the mist. So what do you think? You think it goes too far?
No.
I think it's it's still why that movie's remembered today. Mm-hmm. You know, I constantly use 1408 as the ultimate example. It came out the same year as this. It's hardly ever talked about, although that's changing now all of a sudden. Apparently 1408 just hit Netflix, and there's a whole new generation of people that are discovering.
I still haven't seen it.
1408. Last I saw a tweet that was saying that 1408 was one of the top watched things on Netflix right now.
Really?
So yeah, it's getting a lot of maybe I don't know, some attention that it hasn't got for the last number of years. But yeah, the Mist's ending is the main reason why we still talk about it. But of course that and Mrs. Carmody, of course.
Yeah.
That's why we talk about it here on this show, is to talk about Mrs. Carmody.
Gross. I hate.
There was one other thing. I'm trying to remember where I was going to bring it up. Maybe it's here. So, yeah, I'll bring it up here. So it's a little bit of a tangent. Not that we're not known for such things. Darabont. Have you ever connected the fact that every one of his movies has a very fucking deplorable human being in it? Like, next level deplorable?
I mean, even Walking Dead.
Over the last week, there was one of the reaction channels I watch reacted to The Green Mile, and I don't know whether you want to say it's that fucking psychopath that actually killed the kids or whether it's Percy, but Percy is probably the one. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, Percy, Mrs. Carmody, and Warden Norton. Mm-hmm. All three of those are fucking heinous human beings.
Yeah,
like absolutely fucking deplorable. I don't know if I've ever made that connection before, because I don't think I've ever really given a thought to the actual breadth of it. And you got to give him a lot of credit, especially for Norton, because Norton's not entirely created, because there was a Warden Norton in the Shawshank short story or the novella. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't there was multiple Wardens, and there was a lot of this. It feels like he kind of compiled it all together using the name Norton and stuff. So I think you got to give him a lot of credit for that one. But I was just thinking man, with between Norton. And then, I mean, you could say Hadley as well as kind of a 1-2.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting that you're pointing this out, but there is also a secondary, 1 and 1A for hated character, because there was a character in The Mist that really drove us nuts. It was the neighbor.
Oh yeah,
it's just dude.
But
I
don't think I ever really held a lot against him, because I could totally see where he was coming from, and I thought it was actually kind of realistic.
But that's what I'm saying. He's not as there's characters that are not as reprehensible, like the guard, Hadley. You said
Hadley,
right? Hadley. Yeah. As reprehensible as he is, he beats people and
beats
he
the guy to
death
at the beginning.
Everything like that. He still also does
He does some good stuff
does
too.
some good for Andy because
Puts Boggs in a wheelchair.
yeah.
I mean, Boggs even. For God's sake. I mean,
There's another one.
Darabont has some fucking reprehensible motherfucking characters in his stories, is all I'm saying. He did 3 Stephen King things. All 3 of them, in my opinion, are perfect. But I just don't think I've ever connected before the fact that, like, man, all 3 of them, he has, like, a fucking all-timer in terms of absolute fucking horrid motherfuckers.
Yeah.
You know, like people you just want to set on fire.
It's like the Green Mile. Okay, so if Percy's not it, then the child murderer and rapist is.
Yeah.
And vice versa, the other one is the 1A then.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
I mean,
so
it's got to be Percy, right? With the sponge and, you know, just everything involved, killing the mouse. Like, there's just all this stuff that Percy does.
I think raping and murdering little girls takes a little bit more.
For the sake of the movie, though. Like, when you're watching the movie.
For the sake of the movie, if you're just watching it from, like, you know, who does the most wrong to Glenn Coffey, you know, then obviously Percy.
John Coffey.
Well,
I mean, at that, and because if you're just going to talk about the larger perspective outside of the narrative of the movie, then Mrs. Carmody's going to get taken over by whoever was the head of Project Arrowhead that started the whole thing.
It's true.
But I don't think I was watching that a reaction of someone that had never seen it before. And just watching them react to the Green Mile, and it just dawned on me where I was just like, I pieced it together suddenly. It was like the end of Usual Suspects where it all suddenly came together for me, and I was just like, holy shit, dude. Darabont, like,
he makes good assholes.
He gets some pretty heinous freaking characters there. So okay, so the ending of the miss, you said disagree. You don't think this goes too far.
No.
But I can see where people are coming from when they say it does, though, because it is pretty fucking brutal, man.
It's one of the most brutal Hollywood endings of all time.
Yeah.
And I've seen Schindler's List, you know? I mean, like, this is
and the more we think about it too, because we talked about it months ago, where it was like if they would have gone left instead of right at one point, they would have got to the clearing immediately.
Yeah.
And they didn't. So there's that. Then there was a whole idea that Darabont was going to have the whole store on the trucks, and it's like, I just feel like he's a monster. Mm-hmm. Darabont is a monster. Let's just be clear here.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
he likes torturing us.
Moving on to the next one here, the hobbling scene from Misery. So let me go ahead and click this too. Go ahead.
Oh, Tad! What? Oh.
Oh man.
Dude, come on, change it. We don't need to see it on repeat over and over again.
Why not? That's why GIFs are so cool.
Oh,
because they repeat.
I'm gonna change my tab real fast. Oh.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and turn it back. Oh man, and Mike says there's your explicit tag. Yeah, pretty much.
Hashtag Tad is terrible right there. That is so earned. That might be the most earned one you've ever had.
Okay, so it says when your film success is contingent on only 2 major characters, you better be sure the roles are in safe hands. Luckily, in the case of Misery, the film benefits from 2 truly magnificent performances, courtesy of James Caan and Kathy Bates, who won an Oscar for Best Actress for her work. And the other thing too we got to remember there is Kathy Bates had very little film, if any film experience at the time. When she did this, she was a stage actress, so like she was an unknown. She was a stage performer. She wasn't like James Caan that had been around for fucking ever as this Hollywood legend, right? So that's a ballsy freaking role to cast her, and they did it brilliantly. Obviously, she took full advantage. Caan plays Paul Sheldon, writer of the wildly popular Misery book series, who just completed its final installment. After an unfortunate car accident and bruised and battered, Paul finds himself in the care of Annie Wilkes, played by Kathy Bates. Annie, a former nurse and Paul's self-professed #1 fan, immediately begins to tend to Paul's and his broken legs. But things take a turn when Annie's none too pleased about Paul killing off Misery in the latest book, forces him to write a new one. Annie's abuse of Paul becomes increasingly worse throughout the film, turning from harsh verbal comments to legitimate physical violence. The latter culminates in quite possibly one of the horror cinema's most sickening sequences. With Annie looking to re-break Paul's legs, she achieves this by putting a block of wood between Paul's ankles and hobbling him with a sledgehammer. It's an utterly horrific sequence, unmatched by anything else in the films in terms of disturbing imagery. Sorry, I just giggling there. What's everyone saying in the chat?
There's your explicit tag. Oh, no, says Carol. I remember the reaction in the movie theater to this day, Robert. And then Zach says, ha!
Oh man, I had to. I'm sorry, but so what do you agree? Disagree?
No, I don't. I mean, if you want to take it in the day and age, I mean, Misery comes out in what, in the mid '80s? Late
No,
80s?
I don't think it was that. I thought it was in like the early '90s, but I'm blanking.
1990.
1990. Okay.
I'm sorry, we saw way worse in cinema then. That's not that bad.
I don't know. Want me to go back to the gift there?
I mean, it's bad. Don't get me wrong, it's bad. But no, the GIF makes it bad because it's just sitting there on repeat, watching it over and over again. But I mean, hell, in the very first Friday the 13th, we see Kevin Bacon get stabbed in the freaking throat, and blood come gushing
Yeah, but
out
the
and
way
everything
that
like
foot
that.
moves, that's pretty bad, man.
It's pretty bad. I'll give you that. But he survives. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know why everyone takes like hobblings or injuries more than
I think the book is
death.
less bad.
Cutting the foot off.
Yeah, just taking it off with an axe or whatever. Like, the hobbling's worse, man, because like that's not going to heal right.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be in pain the rest of his life for that. Like,
There's stories of that. I mean, me and you are both big fans of World War II. There's stories of that where,
prisoners and stuff don't heal right. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not even just that. Even just there's just people sometimes in like areas and they don't go get help for something. I mean, there's been people like stranded in like, they get in a plane crash or something and they get injured in some way and they have no way to get to a hospital. So yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stories. But yeah, I don't know. I could see where they're coming from this because yeah, it is. This whole like for Misery, I don't think is necessarily a full-on horror movie. I'd say it's a psychological thriller more than anything. But I think that you could put the hobbling up against a lot of horror movie stuff.
you just don't appreciate horror. I mean, you say nothing's horror because nothing scares you is what it is.
No, I no. Just because it doesn't scare me doesn't mean it's not horror. I'm not one of those people like comedy. Oh, it's not a comedy because I didn't laugh. No, but Misery's not really a horror movie. It's psychological thriller.
It's a horror movie.
It's in the same realm
It's
as like
the
Silence of the
idea-
Lambs. It's all about messing with people in their head.
It's the idea of getting kidnapped that makes it a horror movie. I mean, we're about to go see a movie next month called Black Phone about someone kidnapping a boy. That's a horror movie, sir.
Oh, that one's a horror. Yeah, certainly.
Because it's the idea.
And
of
it's a
being
guy wearing a
kidnapped.
freaking evil mask, and it's like,
Look at that face and tell me that's not evil, dude.
I mean, I'm the one that still doesn't trust Kathy Bates to this day.
That's true.
I see her in anything, I'm like, watch out.
The Office.
Yeah, in The Office, I mean, I'm like, you can't trust her. Look at her. It's Kathy Bates, for God's sake. Oh, man. All right, so then next up.
Oh yeah, Robert uses. Dude, change the game. Come on.
Oh, I had to go through it there. The next one is the sponge scene from the Green Mile.
Oh.
As I said, I just watched a reaction video to Green Mile, and yes, this scene is pretty horrific. Looks like there's some talk about Jaws and aliens. Quint's death is pretty gruesome.
Aliens. So it's talking about what I was saying, that this wasn't even that bad for the time and everything. That was a couple examples given. Jaws. Yeah, Quinn's death is very, very hard to watch.
Yeah, I can watch I can watch teens get eviscerated by Jason for hours. That's doesn't even bat an eyelash. But the
Someone
way
gets hobbled with a sledgehammer.
they did some great freaking effects, man. That is horrific looking.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. All right, so the sponge scene from the Green Mile. Oftentimes, or I guess whether I read it or not, what do you think about? I guess I can have you answer now in terms of do you agree or disagree with this one?
Disagree. I don't think it goes too far.
No. All right. So oftentimes, I think I've affected you, sir. You've said no to enough of these where I think when we first met, if I had went through and had you watch all these, I think you would have had some different answers. All I'm saying is I think my desensitization of you has come almost full circle. You're almost as desensitized as I am.
I don't think that's true. I just think that I have a much different border for what's too far. You know? I've seen some pretty horrific... I guess you're right. I guess I am a little desensitized. I've seen some pretty horrific shit that's like...
And that...
Oh, someone getting their foot hit with a sledgehammer?
And you with your giant eyes just because I said the nasty F word to you, the first thing you ever said. So, yeah, you've been desensitized, sir. Okay, so oftentimes the more realistic on-screen violence is, the more disturbing and resonant it becomes for the audiences. The Green Mile is one of the very few Stephen King stories that doesn't have a monster or a legitimate otherworldly threat. While the story is predicated upon a supernatural element, the events shown are played fairly straight and realistically. The story follows a death row prison guard named Paul, who during his employment at Cold Mountain Penitentiary witnesses a series of strange events. These events seem to be the result of a new inmate, John Coffey, which is Michael Clark Duncan, of course, who has some form of healing touch. Partway through the film, one of the other prisoners, Dell, played by Michael Jeter, is set to be executed via the electric chair. And that's the other thing, too, is I think with this is that it was Dell, because Dell is such a beloved character in that movie, too.
Yeah.
I think if this would have just been like the Native American that gets killed, the first one we see killed in the movie, I think it would have been him. It would have been different. But the fact that it was Dell makes it that much worse.
Yeah.
This process would normally be a quick and relatively painless affair, but due to the machinations of the sadistic guard named Percy, played brilliantly in my opinion by Doug Hutchinson, it doesn't go that way. Percy decides not to soak the sponge used for the execution in water, which prolongs Dell's death throes. It's viscerally unpleasant experience, made all the more disturbing when you learn the reality behind the electric chair executions. Yeah, and that's a fun rabbit hole to jump down if you ever want to go in and read into like the science and the maybe some of the stories of actual electric chair executions. Not for the faint of heart, but it's
there's a reason why they looked for a better alternative.
Yeah, exactly.
I shouldn't say better, a different alternative.
Yeah, indeed. So let's see, anything else I missed in the chat here?
Yeah, they're talking about the chest burster scene, and then Josh says, "I've never seen the Green Mile, but I read the book a month or two ago, for the first time," and then in capital letters, "Terrible." I'm assuming he's talking about the riding the lightning scene.
Yeah.
And then Mike says, "That's a great freeze for the Green Mile. Eddard is literally riding the lightning." And then Josh says, "A tough one for me was the appendix removal scene in the Stand book."
Yeah.
You know what makes the appendix scene just so much worse for me is not only the fact that I have had emergency appendix surgery. I did have to have that.
Yeah. You and my brother both, actually. Not that far from each other either.
Yeah.
Probably within 6 months.
But it's also the discussion beforehand about should we do anything? What should we do?
Yeah.
And then there's always the
and Fran's reaction because she's
you're gonna kill him.
Well, no, that she's freaking out about the fact because it's like this is just an appendix. This is like an outpatient thing.
Literally, I mean that's let's early '90s for the Stand. When I had my appendix out, I literally did not have an incision. Like I don't have a huge scar or anything like that. They played video games inside my guts.
That's unfortunate. I'd want a scar if it were me.
I know, right?
Because then you can like tell people you got a knife fight or whatever.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's just
stabs,
Yeah, it's this modern medical it's nonsense. I want scars, damn it.
How my surgeon described it is she played video games with my guts, and I'm like,
yeah.
Are you serious? And she's like, yeah, 3 incisions. I go in here and I use like long-reaching things and little things that do what my fingers are telling you to do, and I'm just like, well, where's the fun in that? Like, oh, what the hell? Cut me open. But I guess it's safer, and everything.
Now, wait till one of these days when they tell us that it's AIs that are doing the surgeries now instead of people.
Oh, that's how they're putting the microchips in us, eh?
All right. So next up, as predicted, the baseball kid's death in Doctor Sleep.
Oh God, this one went too far, and the fact, I don't know if he's gonna cover this. But Flanagan had to tone it down to get to what we saw in the film.
Yeah, King told him to tone it down.
Yeah, King told him to tone it down. Yeah, absolutely. This is the top one.
Yeah.
This has to be.
So this goes too far in your mind.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so...
I mean, who wants to see a child tortured? I'm a father. I don't want to see any child tortured. I don't want to see any child mistreated.
Yeah.
God, that's horrible.
And then when he asks, is it going to hurt? And she says yes.
Oh.
While an unfortunate box office disappointment, Dr. Sleep did receive a fair amount of praise from critics and audiences. The film follows a grown-up Danny Torrance dealing with the trauma due to his stay at the Overlook Hotel. Despite this, Danny has managed to keep the ghosts of his past at bay and even sought counseling for his substance abuse. However, a threat known as the True Knot, a gang of vampire-like immortals, rears their heads. The True Knot feast off anyone who, much like Danny, has special gifts or powers. In an especially disturbing sequence, we see them lure a young Little League player into their van and drive off. They take him to a construction site where they proceed to not only stab him, but consume his essence as well. What makes the sequence even worse is you see almost every moment of the poor child screaming in agony. The child's death is is far from uncharted territory for King adaptations. Just watch Pet Sematary. But this one, it definitely pushes the limits. Let's... it's definitely of all these, I think this is probably the closest one for me to reaching that again.
Even you had a little bit of an issue watching this.
I was just like surprised by it. I was just like,
Yeah.
dear God, man, like when are they going to cut away? Like what's going on here? So yeah, you agreed with this one as you from you here.
Yeah.
So this one is an interesting one, and I think this one's more of kind of the embarrassment type stuff more so than whatever. And it's the motorcycle wheelchair from Silver Bullet. Have you seen Silver Bullet?
Once in high school. I think you lent it to me in high school. I think it was even a DVD, not a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
going that
Blu-ray
far
wasn't
back.
out when we were in high school. Not even
Yeah.
close. Yeah. Robert says, I remember the baseball boys jersey. Baseball kids jersey is number 19.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that's definitely true. So Silver Bullet is definitely one of the cheesiest Stephen King adaptations, but that is in no way a bad thing. The film follows Jane Coslaw and her younger brother Marty dealing with a series of gruesome murders in their small hometown. The murders turn out to be the work of Reverend Lowe, who turns into a werewolf when the moon is full. We also meet the siblings' lovable but alcoholic Uncle Red, played by the incomparable Gary Busey. Partway through the film, Red bestows upon Marty a very special gift, a motorcycle wheelchair. Bear in mind that this is a film with a bloodthirsty werewolf, and yet somehow the wheelchair is far more inexplicable. What makes it even stranger is just how straight the film plays it, never once bringing up how ridiculous it is. Not only does Marty use it often, but even uses it to escape the werewolf while it is in human form as Reverend Lowe. The film is campy and enjoyable werewolf flick, but the motorcycle wheelchair might have been a step too far in believability. So, not like Scott's Tots in terms of embarrassment or whatever, but it's definitely a strange thing. Maybe we'll have to do a Patreon watch along of Silver Bullet. I don't think I've seen it in a while either.
It's been at least 1 decade, 1.5, maybe 2.
Yeah. All right, next up. Gage killing Judd from Pet Sematary.
Oh.
Good old, what is it? Is it Herman Munster here? Mm-hmm. A reoccurring motif amongst many King novels is creepy children, often imbued with a healthy dose of the supernatural. From Carrie to The Shining to most relevant here, Pet Sematary. If a child appears in a King adaptation, there's a strong bet that they'll be spooky, which that's true. And kids are creepy in general. So, like the book, the film follows the Creed family, Lewis, his wife Rachel, and their 2 kids, Gage and Ellie. The family is eventually shown a local pet cemetery by their older neighbor Judd, played by the former Herman Munster, Fred Gwynn. Eventually, Lewis learns more about the cemetery, how burying something there leads to its resurrection, but how they come back wrong. This coincides not only with the death of his family cat, but eventually their own son Gage, who was hit by a truck. Again, against the warning of Judd and a ghost named Pascal, Lewis opts to bury Gage in the cemetery to bring him back. Gage does indeed reanimate, but remains completely evil and bloodthirsty, and proceeds to murder poor Judd with a scalpel. And I do have to...
No! Tad, no!
The sequence is uncomfortably brutal, gory, and will make even the most hardcore horror fans squirm.
Oh, gosh!
That was timed perfectly. I couldn't do that better if I tried.
I don't want to see that.
I had to, man. I really had to. I hope everyone in the chat enjoyed it as well.
Oh.
If nothing else, watching Peter squirm is fun, right? Oh, man. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and change it back. But we will have to go to it again before we get to the next one because of the way it cycles there.
The worst part about it is that I haven't seen it for so long for a reason. And then you show me, and I have to watch. It's like a train wreck. You can't look away.
Can't look away.
Oh.
Oh, I got a hashtag Ted is terrible from Joshua in the chat there. Mike gives me a big LOL. Robert, Ted is having too much fun today, and then it's smiley emoji. And I am having a lot of fun. And I did, and not only that, but I'm going to have to throw it out there. The hobbling, I was able to find a GIF. This one, I was not able to, so I literally made this GIF myself. That's how much work I went to for
Oh, my
this.
gosh.
So, how would you agree or disagree? And then the other thing too is this is only half of it, right? There is also the slicing of his mouth with like the smiley face thing when he slashes, and then he goes into the whole biting and stuff. So this scene obviously goes on further. So what I had on the screen there for a second isn't the full full kill. But overall, what do you think? Do you think Gage's or Judd's?
This one goes a little too far.
And let me guess, is it because of the Achilles tendon?
Yes, but also seeing a child murder someone is quite
Hey,
disturbing.
that is the most adorable killer we've ever seen on screen. Let's be honest.
No.
What's a more adorable killer than that?
I don't know, but no, I'm not agreeing with you anymore.
He Oh man. So you do agree with that one. That's great.
That one is a little bit over the top. That one could have been easily could have been toned down a little bit.
Oh man.
But it's one of those ones where they did it. I mean, does it happen in the book? I haven't read the book for a while.
Yeah, I think he gets Judd. I don't remember the full details of it, though.
I don't think it's that brutal. I think it's like stab him in the heart and he's dead.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's been a minute now. It's been a couple years, actually. I think both of us read it in the lead up to the movie in 2019. Yeah. In fact, because didn't they put out the new audiobook of that probably within 6 months of that movie coming out?
Because we were talking about how I think we literally talked about it on the show.
What's his name from Dexter was the narrator.
Yeah, I remember us talking about it on a show, and I'm like, man, that's really bummer that we don't have like a really good audiobook for Pet Sematary. And then it's like the next day you text me and you're like, dude, they released one. Like oh my god, like it was like the next day or something like that, or just a couple of days later. But yeah, I can't do Achilles tendons, man.
Zach said that is great. Josh, LMAO, even better. And then Josh says, I can't crawl under the bed to this day. Because let's be honest, that there's a lot of under the bed things that we all fear, but I don't know if there's anything worse than this in film when it comes to like beds and monsters and under the bed or under the stairs type thing.
The only one that's worse for me is that fucking clown in Poltergeist.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Look under the bed. Oh, it's not there. Then
right behind you. Yeah, he'll get you. All right, so next up, Tommy's death in the Shawshank Redemption.
Come on.
So Tommy's death in the Shawshank Redemption.
This isn't that bad.
In terms of emotional resonance, very few Stephen King stories hit the way that the Shawshank Redemption does. Lacking any form of the supernatural, the story nevertheless stands out amongst the rest of King's prolific output. The story follows Andy Dufresne, a former banker who is now an inmate after the alleged killing of his cheating wife and her lover. Although I don't think it's a alleged killing. I think there was a killing. It's just alleged that he did it.
Yeah.
Over the course of the multi-year stint at Shawshank Prison, he makes friends with a con man named Red. Partway through the film, we're introduced to Tommy, played by Gil Bellows, a new inmate who ingratiates himself rather quickly to Andy and Red. Tommy reveals that while he was doing a stint at another prison, he heard another inmate admitting to the crimes that Andy took the fall for. Andy sees this as his ticket to freedom, but the stringent warden, Samuel Norton, quickly puts an end to it. Not only does he begin making life hell for Andy, but in order to keep the information secret, he has Tommy shot. It's a gut-wrenching moment to witness and serves as a major catalyst for Andy's final escape from prison. The other thing I think that he doesn't mention here also is Tommy was there for a short stretch, too. He was only going to be there for a couple years. It was
Isn't he a dad too?
Yeah, he had a young kid. That's why he got the GED and stuff. So, that's the other thing another part of it is he's not in there for a 10 to 15 year stretch. He's only in there for I think 3 to 5 years or something like that. Like not a long stretch at all. And he's obviously trying to better himself to be ready for his kid and stuff. So, definitely that all makes it so much worse. And that is not. I don't think that's in the short story either, or the novella. I don't think that.
I've never read the novella.
I just did not too long ago, but I think there was a few things that they changed, and I don't remember him getting shot as one of them. Anything I missed in the chat here? Are we caught up still?
We're still caught up.
Okay. Next up, another embarrassing one a little bit.
Why?
The CGI in the Langoliers.
Oh, okay.
It says it's not uncommon for Stephen King stories to go big or go home when it comes to their respective climaxes. Sometimes this results in something excellent, like the prom sequence in Carrie, or in the case of the Langoliers, something insanely stupid. The 1995 television adaptation follows a group of passengers who, while on a flight to Boston, awaken to discover the other passenger is gone. They land eventually, but eventually discover that it's not only their flight that is deserted, but the entire airport as well. Along for the ride is Craig Toomey, an anxious-ridden businessman with a fear of the titular Langoliers. It is explained that Langoliers are monsters that his father told him about during his childhood, the irresponsible and lazy. Eventually, the group discovers that during their flight, they enter the Aurora Borealis, which has detached them from the timeline. However, it appears that the past is clean. It appears that the past has a cleanup crew, which is none other than Langoliers, which ensures that what ensues are several minutes of fearing some truly horrendous computer graphics on par with early Nintendo 64 games. Any intrigue or sense of ambiguity is lost, most likely replaced by viewers with groan and unintentional laughs. So yeah, it's. I remember watching it when it first came out, and like even then in 1995, I was like, "What the hell is this?" So it's not one of those things that like it has aged poorly. Mm-hmm. No, it was poor from day one.
It was bad then.
It was bad the day.
Mike laughs out loud at this, and then Josh says, "This roundtable is making me realize my Stephen King filmography is lacking. I've seen maybe 2 of these movies." And then Mike says, "Don't watch The Langoliers."
No, you should watch The Langoliers. It's worth a watch at least once.
It's when you need a comedy, right?
See, it's like another one of those ones. We got to do this as a Patreon at some point. Just watch it because it's just you have to.
It's just that bad.
I mean, yeah, like not everything Shawshank Redemption in this world.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. So, that's good though, Mike. I like that. Don't watch The Langoliers. So in terms of going too far, in terms of the realm of maybe pushing technological bounds, almost could be their sin here is like, why not just go claymation? Why not go do something that was more known at the time? You know, I don't know.
It's sad when you look at stuff like this. You said Langoliers came out in 1995. It's sad to me that Langoliers came out 2 years after Jurassic Park, and that's what
Yeah.
This on the screen is what was presented during a film.
Yeah.
That looks like a melted action figure, like someone stuck a biter under a Ninja Turtle and melted the fucking thing, and that's the pile of goo that's left over.
And Josh says, if I see it in the Walmart bin, I'll watch it. Yeah, if you say it in the Walmart bin too, it'll probably be like a 7-pack Stephen King movies, and they're all going to be of the same
for $3.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so next one here, and I'm trying to remember. Okay, there's two more we got. The first one is Henry.
Are there any gifts?
No.
Okay.
Henry killing his father in It. What do you think, reaction-wise?
No.
Okay, so he says it's amazing that the film about an ancient entity masquerading as a murderous sewer-dwelling clown. A normal murder would be the most disturbing. Aside from Pennywise the Dancing Clown, the Losers Club has to contend with the abuses of local bully Henry Bowers. The group encounters Bowers and his gang several times throughout the film and finally get the better of them in a rock fight. Henry then suffers another humiliation, this time at the hand of his stern police father in front of his cronies. Following this, Henry sees a red balloon affixed to his home mailbox, within which he finds his lost pocket knife. Throughout the scene build-up, all we hear are the foreboding sounds of children laughing, which only adds to the dread. Henry then returns inside and motivated by Pennywise on a children's television show, stabs his father in the neck. The killing, unlike every other killing in the film, is far more brutal and is displayed far more realistically. This sharp contrast to the rest of the film makes the scene very hard to watch, especially in terms of its violence. I could see that. I remember in the theater being like, Jesus Christ, like, you know.
And it's not like his dad was like a piece of shit like he was in the book.
No, like you actually root for his dad a bit because he puts fucking Henry in his place.
Yeah.
And you spent the whole movie, you know, dealing with Henry as a bully. So seeing him like somewhat bullied and maybe like probably a little bit abused, which I'm not into, but at the same time there is part of it feels like a comeuppance a little bit.
Yeah.
And then then I will say though, Pennywise in the TV with the kids, kill him or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite elements of the movie because that is creepy as fuck.
It is.
Like having Pennywise and all the kids around him and they're all like chanting to tell him to kill him or whatever.
Yeah.
That's creepy as hell.
It is. Josh said the 7-packs are Tad's favorites, right? I responded, LOL. No. Simply, the funny thing is, guys and gals, I'll tell you right now, the reason why those packs bother Tad so much is not because of the shortcomings
of the movies.
The shortcomings of the movies. What bothers Tad so much is the multi-pack, and he doesn't know where to put it on his shelf because everything he owns physical media is alphabetized.
Yeah.
And so if you have Langoliers, Cujo, Children of the Corn, and Tommyknockers in one pack,
Yeah, where do you
put it?
Yeah.
Also, it drives him up the fucking wall when he goes to watch one of those.
Yeah.
And he has to remember, oh, right, it's down here in the Stephen King packs, not in the C for Children of the Corn, where it should be.
Exactly.
It's just funny how he's like nitpicky like that, right, guys?
I hate multi-packs are the devil.
Unless they're like Harry Potter. Because then
if it's like a neat collection, I'm okay with that, but it's all the other ones that I'm not into.
Yeah, like Halloween's, like Halloween's. But if it had Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street, it would piss you off.
Yes, indeed.
And you wouldn't buy it.
No.
Even if it had like super special features in it, you wouldn't buy it.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. All right, so last up in the final spot here, and it is the opening scene of It Chapter 2. I know this one didn't bother you as much as the
girl under the bleachers.
The bleachers, Charlie, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm. That one was way worse than either one of those scenes.
It says, in terms of both critical and audience reception, It Chapter 2 sadly didn't fare well as a 2017 predecessor. The film definitely leans into more absurd developments of the book's second half, which makes for a fairly ridiculous sit. One such example is a heightened sense of camp comes in the film's opening scene at the Derry Canal Fair. We see a gay couple represented through some rather outdated stereotypes getting beat up by a group of ruthless homophobes. This result is one of the men being beaten bloody, then thrown off the bridge and into the canal. The man struggles for help until he sees a mysterious figure on land and is soon revealed to be none other than Pennywise. His partner rushes down just in time to see his boyfriend having a chunk bitten out of him by the clown. While the scene certainly is shocking, it's also indulgent too much in the gay couple's brutal victimization, including a 90s sitcom-style comeback about their attacker's hair during the vicious homophobic beating, is certainly feels a bit tasteless. So that's kind of where it's coming from. Not necessarily like the gore or whatever, because I don't know, the gore is not bad. The bite out of the side is not bad for gore. So no. I'm not going to like downplay the gore of it, but that I think his problem with it is more of the nature of the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the whole point, though. I think the point is for it to be uncomfortable for that scene, because the book is the same. It definitely feels like maybe the second worst thing in the book. The first one being the eyeball thing with Patrick Hochstetter. Yeah, that is easily the most fucking grotesque thing in the book. It's just like, dude, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Like, I remember reading it and I was just like, I set the book down and I looked at the book for a second and I'm like, hold up. I flipped back a couple pages, then reread it. I'm like,
wait, the eye thing with Hochstetter, you mean the leeches?
The leeches, yeah. Yeah, like that whole thing was just like...
Oh, right, one lashes on his eye.
Yeah, it was just like, yeah.
I was still thinking about, I was trying to remember that part in the movie, and then I realized you were talking about the book. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, the movie didn't really cover it very well, but yeah, all I'm saying is that the Adrian Mellon stuff in the book was, in my opinion, probably the second worst thing, with the Hochstetter being the first worst in my mind, from the King side. But yeah, I can see where he's coming from.
I think there's one scene you're forgetting about that was much worse than both of those combined. When they come out of the sewer.
Ow! No, that's
pretty bad, dude.
No, it's misunderstood. Dude, what King was going for there. We've talked about it a little bit in the past. I don't know. That's more bitched about by people who've never read the book and they just heard about it and they bitch about it. I don't know. It has its narratively, King put it there for a reason.
I get it.
So, like, I don't know.
I get where you're coming from, but still, it's hard to read. It is. It's hard to listen to. It's one of those parts that there's two parts of it that I make sure that, okay, one, I'm not going to be anywhere near anyone else so they can't overhear my headphones. They can't overhear me in my car.
Oh, I mean, in terms of that, yeah. But I'm just saying in terms of like, I don't know, I just feel like it's almost become kind of a meme with that where like people shit on that and stuff. And I feel like, again, half the time I see people bitching online. I'm like, I don't even think these people have read the book. Because they always say the same things, and it's like, have you actually read it? Because you all say the exact same.
They're just repeating.
Yeah, they're just parroting it, and it's just like, yeah, I get it. I get where people get uncomfortable with it, but I don't think it's like as bad as like some of the fucking horrific violence in this in the book. So that's just me. I don't know, but yeah. So that's the article. I thought it'd be fun to kind of go through because, I mean, going too far, that's right up my alley in terms of like, let's see what they find. And, once I got to the ones, I was like, I've got to do some GIFs.
I'll say it again. #Ted is terrible, and he earned that. tonight.
Oh.
And you didn't get it from just me either. That's when you know you did bad.
Oh man, yeah. I should have. I don't know. I should have maybe timed the first one a little bit better.
You're gonna go You're gonna go save the clip of me watching that Achilles tendon, and you're gonna save it for when you're feeling kind of down in the dumps. You're gonna watch it as a pick me up, aren't you?
I mean, maybe. I mean, your reaction to the hobbling was pretty good too.
Ugh.
So, oh, that was a lot of fun. All right, so the next up here, we talked about Salem's Lot a little bit. Now the next one we have is Salem's Lot. So this is interesting. So Salem's Lot footage reaction. So and it says this Stephen King adaptation looks scary as hell. CinemaCon 2022 by Ryan Scott and Valerie Ettenhofer from Slash Film on April 26, 2022. So first of all, just I don't remember if they dive into it too deeply, but CinemaCon is basically the biggest gathering of theater owners, and a lot of times what it comes down to is it's not like Comic-Con. It's not for general people. It's usually for theater owners, and it's a way for the studios to like hype them up about what's coming this summer, what's coming in this year, and they'll show them.
They know what to get excited for at their theater.
Yeah, they'll show them scenes sometimes. They'll show them sizzle reels. Sometimes they'll show them trailers. Sometimes they show them whole movies. I believe they showed Top Gun Maverick, the entire movie, to people here. So CinemaCon's kind of a big deal in the movie industry, but again, it's not front facing. It's not like Comic-Con where whatever. But sometimes reporters get there.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they covered Salem's Lot a little bit here. So I debated a little bit about whether we wanted to get into this, but I want to because I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And the other thing is what they describe here, because they'll describe what they saw. I think it's just a sizzle reel. There's no indication because sizzle reels are very strange. Sometimes they won't be things that you won't see them in trailer. Dude, there's even been times sizzle reels will have stuff that end up getting cut out of the movie, so we don't even know if we'll see this in the film. But I think it gives you a vibe of what we got coming for us in September. So it says, thanks in large part to the success of 2017's It and its sequel, It Chapter 2, Hollywood is more obsessed with the works of Stephen King than they ever have been. Granted, adaptations of his works have been happening for decades now, but the tide has turned in a way with these being treated as big events. And it says, and it also means that some of his best books are getting new chances to shine on the big screen. Case in point, we're getting a new Salem's Lot movie this year, and we just got our first taste of what to expect at CinemaCon. The book itself is one of King's early works, published in 1975, his second book. It centers on the author named Ben Mears, who returns to, you guessed it, Salem's Lot to write a book about the house that has haunted him since he was a kid. However, he discovers his hometown is infested with vampires, which that's just a fun phrase to hear there. Infested with vampires.
Not overrun.
Yeah, infested.
Infested.
Now, can a town be infested with werewolves too?
No.
Or would that be overrun?
Overrun.
Just feral, like just packs of werewolves, like haunting the streets and stuff. I know you're just dreaming about such a thing happening.
Why? Why do you do this to me? One werewolf's bad enough, but like a pack?
A bunch of them, yeah.
See, the thing is, werewolves don't have the rule that they can't come into my house.
Yeah, you don't have to invite. You don't have to invite them in.
They can just come in and eat me. And no.
And what if at the center of it all is the creep show monkey?
He's the ringleader.
The ringleader, yeah. He's riding. He's got like a coach with like 6 werewolves in front of him, and he's like mushing them. Okay, so he says
he'd still be on top of the coach. He'd still be in his box.
In the box, yeah. Oh,
he likes it in his box. Damn it.
Robert says The Howling was good. Howling's one of my all-time
Howling was
favorites.
great.
American Werewolf in London and Howling are probably, in my opinion, the standouts of the genre of horror of werewolf movies.
We need more werewolf movies.
Oh, agreed. I mean, I've been saying that for years. I think of all the classic monsters, I think that's the most neglected.
I think it is too.
And that's unfortunate because I think werewolves are just perfect fucking things for a movie. I mean,
it's terrifying.
It's like Jaws, right? Like what makes Jaws so great? It's like you could do the same thing with werewolves. So Mike says Teen Wolf is more of Peter's flavor.
I've never seen Teen Wolf.
Okay, so he
I
says,
should watch it.
Next, going on here, it says, we're on the ground at CinemaCon in Las Vegas, getting a glimpse at what many studios have coming our way in the near future. Warner Brothers decided to bring a little bit of its latest King adaptation from director Gary Dauberman, director of The Annabelle Comes Home and writer of It. Doberman is reuniting with modern horror master James Wan, who is on board as producer. So what have they cooked up for us? Let's get into it. Doberman took to the stage today to give CinemaCon attendees a look at the rough cut of some early footage from Salem's Lot. The filmmaker introduced the first look by calling the vampire novel, quote, one of the crown jewels of King's library. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
Because I don't think it gets as much credit as like your It's and your Stands and, whatever, The Shining. But I think that, really, when it comes down, if you look at it as a constant reader, Salem's Lot is a crown jewel. It's a big one. It's early, but God, it's good.
The other thing also is that King has to be given some hefty credit and hefty praise for Salem's Lot, because you're tackling a monster that's been around for hundreds of years. I mean, go back to Bram Stoker. What was it?
Yeah.
What was Bram Stoker's written?
1600s, wasn't it?
1600s, something like that. It's been around for hundreds of years.
It's been around a long time, yeah.
Vampires have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
The idea of vampires, everything like that. For him to take them and put a modern spin on it, modern then.
Yeah.
Modern spin on it.
It's still modern. In comparison to how long vampires have been around.
That's true.
That's still
That's
modern.
very true.
And honestly, what's been done since then is quote unquote more modern for vampires? Like, have they been reinvented again since the 70s?
No.
I mean
we have vampire stuff, but it's still the same old can't do. Oh, I guess maybe
1897. I was way off.
Oh, 1897.
I was way off.
Wow. But still, 100 years. A little bit over 100 years.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah, it is Victorian now that I think about it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
But 100 years, we have vampires. And let's be honest, vampire lore goes back to Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah.
That is not it didn't start with Bram Stoker's Dracula. It started with Vlad the Impaler, which is in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
And for him to take something like that and to make it his own, but at the same time staying true to it. Because there's so many times that someone takes something and, let's be honest, let's take a look at a modern vampire take that took liberties with vampires. Twilight.
Yeah.
Regarded as fantastic romance novels.
Yeah. Or there was the one in around the turn of the century that was like the whole premise is that like Judas was like the first vampire, and that that's it tried to tie this whole, it was like Dracula 2000 or some bullshit like that, I think was.
I can't remember.
But it tried to reinvent the whole thing, like kind of in the guise of like, Judas the apostle, the betrayer of Jesus, was like the first vampire, and every one of them from him is like a whatever. They're all propagated from him or whatever. Yeah. So there's been some people who have tried different spins, but
we've had different things done with vampires. I mean, you have vampires like in Blade. There's a couple here in the chat that people mention. Robert mentions Midnight Mass. Oh my God, that was good for vampires.
Flanagan walks on water.
Oh, so. Yes, he does. Interview with the Vampire, Nosferatu, all this stuff.
I do still need to watch Nosferatu. Dude, I read Nosferatu and I really enjoyed it.
There's a lot of...
To be clear, we're talking the Joe Hill NOS 4A2, not talking the actual Nosferatu, like the original
vampire
movie. Yeah, not that one. I'm sorry. I've never thought about that before. I wonder how many times we've referenced that book and not been clear, and people listening thought we were talking about the Nosferatu.
That's true.
I've never considered that till just now.
But
yes.
we have had vampires retelling and vampires, redone, but they all stay pretty much consistent. But for King to take it and make it his own, and let's be perfectly honest, he also incorporated vampires into the Dark Tower.
Yeah,
like the old ones are there at the Dixie Pig. Like, he makes them his characters.
Yeah,
he doesn't just take Dracula and insert him into a story.
Yeah,
he makes the vampires his own. Barlow is terrifying.
Yeah, agreed.
So to see him do that, it is actually very impressive.
Yeah.
Especially so freaking young.
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't King
second
now
book.
doing it. This is his second book that he did it back in the 70s.
Yeah, exactly. And then what else? Josh asked favorite vampire film / stories other than Salem's Lot. Yeah, I think Midnight Mass was mentioned. Like for me, movie-wise, the Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola.
With Gary Oldman, Keanu Reeves, British Impress. Accent.
Anthony Hopkins playing
Van Helsing is so good.
It's pretty great.
You have,
and that one actually plays on the vampire, and it gets into like the werewolf and the bat stuff too. Like he transforms into multiple creatures. Mm-hmm. So with like that one kind of breaks the bounds. And I don't know.
I am a fan of Interview with the Vampire. I've only seen it a couple times, but I was a fan of that. And I like the action campy Blade film. Not the sequels, but the first one was actually pretty decent. I like when they make subtle changes, but keeps true to the, hey, they can't go out in the day. They're the living dead. They suck blood,
Yeah. One that I will throw out that I saw in the last couple years, it came out in 2014. It's called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. It is a Persian language film, but it's a great vampire thing. It's low budget and stuff, but like recommend that one. 2014 Persian film called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. It's one that I'd heard a lot of hype of over the years. When I finally watched it, I was like, yeah, it's I think it's all in black and white. But yeah, that one's really good. Yeah. But
Josh, you want a quick Midnight Mass synopsis? It is a story about a island becoming wrapped up in religion and
like
has
religious fanaticism.
All of a sudden, it starts having weird disappearances that go unexplained.
Yeah, and it feels very, very Stephen King.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll be watching it and you will feel like, oh, this is a Stephen. Like the whole time I was watching it, it felt to me like this is a Stephen King book that got lost in time, and Mike Flanagan discovered it and adapted it, and none of us have read it, but it felt so Stephen King.
This is the one that fell off his motorbike.
Exactly. This is it's one that King dropped at some point, and Mike Flanagan found it, and it just felt like King. So much so that there were times I had to like stop myself and like, Tad, this is not a Stephen King adaptation. The other that happened to me with Joe Hill too. As a matter of fact, Nosferatu by Joe Hill. That one was one that multiple times I had to like stop and go, like, oh wait, hold on. King
isn't Stephen King.
King didn't write this because I started thinking it was King's writing. Not to mention it mentions the Dark Tower series, which
Mike says 30 Days of Night was a great idea, but only okay execution. If I remember right, 30 Days of Night is the one where a vampire
that one's in Alaska.
Coven shows up where it's all dark.
And it's Josh Hartnett, right?
For days, right?
I think it's Josh Hartnett. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones, man. Vampires, though, as we mentioned, though, werewolves are way more overlooked. Okay, so that tangent aside, you're still looking up some stuff there, but it says he pointed out that this is Gary Dauberman again, pointed out that like It, which was also adapted into a now dated miniseries, before making it onto the big screen in 2017, Salem's Lot is a rare King property that has never been developed into a feature film until now, which that actually is kind of a shock to me. Came out in 1975, and we have not had an actual film adaptation. We have 2 TV adaptations of this.
Oh, that's right.
So the fact that we've gone that long with this it is crazy. The director noted that it is important to him that the scares in the new Salem's Lot feel as grounded as the novel on which it was based, and to make vampires feel scary by highlighting their humanness. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, that's one of the things with this one with Salem's Lot that got me so is the links to humans with them.
Yeah.
Barlow and what's
Straker.
Straker creeps me out, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he's supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the point.
Yeah.
The first footage reflected just that. In it, and so this is just kind of a brief little thing here. There's going to be some things we might recognize. So basically, it's just a sizzle reel. This is just showing them a couple little, shots or whatever. That's about it. So in this thing, a group of people are walking through a foggy wooded area in search of something or someone. Quote, "You don't think there's a chance he's still out there somewhere?" A woman asks. Quote, "Not if history tells us anything," Bill Camp's Matt Burke answers. As the group notes that the town has fallen prey to more than one mysterious disappearance, the camera cuts to a man digging a grave in the dark. And I will say, I did read one other thing on this. This isn't a man digging a grave. This is a man filling a grave, which is a scene we all remember very well from the Glick funeral, basically. Yeah. So this article I did want to point out, because I like the way this article portrays it. There's other articles that go a little bit more in depth and actually break down exactly what we're seeing as readers. I liked this one, but I did want to point out that this guy interprets it as they were digging a grave, but this is the groundskeeper guy that from the book.
Yeah.
This gives way to a snapshot of chaos that is about to befall Jerusalem's Lot, Maine. A young kid with glasses wanders into the middle of a street covered in blood. A resident is attacked from behind by an unseen silhouette, and then finally we get a good look at these vampires. The first footage of the creatures stalking Salem's Lot is impressive. We see a vampire on fire, a vampire facing down a priest.
Hey!
And a vampire hidden in a dark closet-like space inches from Matt. as the aforementioned kid.
Oh, jeez.
So and then this is my favorite part. The most indelible sequence, though, shows a sudden, frightening appearance of tons of vampires via a tricky pan and shot. The camera focuses on a man running down the street alone. Then the camera quickly pans away as someone calls his name. When it pans back, the street is suddenly swarming with vampires.
Oh, shit.
I'm getting chills. Like, that sounds fucking amazing.
That does.
It is a great classic feeling horror movie scare. Yeah, like,
that's awesome.
I haven't found one other one that actually highlighted that scene. Like, again, there's a bunch of others like, oh, we see when Straker and Callahan, like all these people breaking things down, like telling you about the book. But I'm like, I like this one a lot more, especially because that last bit. I really hope that shot's in the movie because that sounds
I do too.
That sounds amazing,
really cool.
So, hype level for me is greatly increased for Salem's Lot. Like because I don't know what to expect. Like it's hard to know with Stephen King adaptations. I know we talk about being in the second golden age of King, but like doesn't mean that all adaptations are good, right? Not all adaptations are created equal. So
chapter 2 was a little bit lackluster. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
it was not as good as the first one.
No, not as good as So there's hits and there's misses. I think Doctor Sleep is probably one of the standouts for me. In this second age of Kings. So so that sounds like a lot of fun. I can't wait to see Jerusalem's Lot on the big screen. Can't wait. Yeah,
Salem's Lot, not Jerusalem's Lot. That's something different.
No, Jerusalem's Lot in terms of I can't wait to see that town.
I know.
Can't wait to see all the people.
It's called Salem's Lot.
No, the book's called Salem's Lot. The town's called Jerusalem's Lot. Yeah. Which is what I can't wait to see is the town, the people in the town, the vampires, which, I gotta love.
I was just making a joke because isn't there another property called Jerusalem's Lot that's coming out?
Yeah. Well, no, it's not. It's called
The Lot?
Chapelwick.
Chapelwick
is what, though it was based off the short story called Jerusalem's Lot.
Oh, okay.
They were asked to change that. I don't know if it was because of this, because I don't know. They were asked to change the title of that one to not be Jerusalem's Lot. But yes, King did a short story called Jerusalem's Lot that's set in the old days. But that one's got a second season coming, I believe.
Yeah, I still need to watch the first one.
I didn't finish the first one. I'm midway through it. Not that it's bad.
Where's it on again?
I get distracted. Epics. Yeah, one you can get for $5 or something a month.
Yeah.
So sign up for it and watch through it quickly or whatever. So
in the 1 month you have it, pay $5 to have it.
Speaking of subscriptions, Stephen King to publish a new short story with Scribd on May 25th. So new King story.
Cool.
And this is a press release, and this is directly from Scribd, released on April 27th, 2022. So Scribd, the reading subscription service, offers access to millions of ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, podcasts, and more. Today announced it will release Finn, a new piece of short fiction from the #1 New York Times best-selling author and legendary storyteller Stephen King. Set in Ireland, Finn tells the story of what happens when a young man, wildly unlucky since birth, finds himself caught up in the case of mistaken identity. So that sounds fun. No one knows monsters, real or imagined, like the creator of It, The Outsider, Pet Sematary, and countless other timeless stories. In Finn, King targets a peculiar 21st century monster, men so consumed by spy and war games that they twist reality to suit their own purposes. Subjected to torture, alternately sinister and absurd, Finn travels through the existential and psychological crises that are a signature of King's fiction. Finn's grandmother has promised that God owes him, but what are the chances of that when the author of his fate is the undisputed master of the macabre and terrifying? Which that's true.
Yeah.
God can't help you when you're a Stephen King character.
Ask Jake.
Yeah, no shit. Ask Jake. There's a lot of people. We had a whole conversation about King characters that deserve better.
That's true. We did.
Yeah, King is a monster. Let's be honest. Yeah. Characteristically propulsive, wickedly funny, and twists narratives and literature, Finn points straight to our current struggle to differentiate between farce and experience, and asks, can 50 million Elvis fans be wrong? This 8,000-word short story will be available exclusively on Scribd on Wednesday, May 25th, in both ebook and audiobook formats. The audiobook will be narrated by Kellen Boyle, which I looked that up, and I did not see any other King works. I did see 3 works on Audible, but nothing that was King-related. So, newcomer to Stephen King audiobooks. Finn will published by or scribed, I don't know how to say it, Originals, a publishing imprint that features ambitious, original fiction and nonfiction by some of today's most acclaimed authors, available exclusively on Scribd. Notably, authors who have published through Scribd Originals includes Margaret Atwood, Roxane Gay, Caitlin Greenridge, Lauren Groff, Chuck Palahniuk, Bonnie Sue, Charles Yu, and more. Scribd Originals are available to all Scribd subscribers as part of their $11.99 a month subscription. So basically, if you subscribe to this, it's about the same price as Audible. And it's, I don't know, it sounds like they've got quite a bit on there. So I'm wondering if they're trying to make this as kind of like like an alternate to Audible, but it does also include ebooks, which is interesting.
I just pulled up Scribd website, and it has "If It Bleeds" as one of the many novels that it has on their cover.
Oh, sweet.
One of their titles, I should say.
So it says
novel.
Scribd is a reading subscription service that is changing the way the world reads. For $11.99 a month, Scribd offers access to the best ebooks, audiobooks, magazine articles, and more. Scribd works directly with publishers to constantly add new content to the platform and provide its subscribers with high quality and personalized reading recommendations. Scribd's goal is to inspire curiosity and learning through its diverse range of content that amplifies important topics and underappreciated authors. The app is available on iOS and Android devices, as well as web browsers and the Apple Watch. About Scribd Originals. Scribd Originals is a program featuring ambitious original fiction and nonfiction, available exclusively on Scribd. These vivid, compelling stories, which can often be read in just a few hours, span the range of genres: long-form journalism, literary fiction, memoir, thrillers, mystery, true crime, sci-fi, and narrative history. And then there's a section on about Stephen King, which I always love these things because they're always fun as a constant reader to see what people say about him. King is the author of more than 60 books, all of the worldwide bestsellers, which that's interesting. Never sold he's never written a fluke. That's interesting. His recent works include Billy Summers, If It Bleeds, and The Institute. Fairy Tale, his latest novel, will appear in September. His epic work, The Dark Tower, It, Pet Sematary, and Dr. Sleep are the basis of major motion pictures, with It now the highest grossing horror film of all time. King is a recipient of the 2018 PEN American Literary Service Award, 2014 National Medal of Arts, 2003 National Book Foundation Medal for Distinguished Contributions to American Letters. He lives in Bangor, Maine with his wife, novelist Tabitha King. So I always find those kind of things interesting to see kind of what people say about King, what works do they mention. It's always fun to see The Dark Tower thrown in there with everything else because, as we know...
Sometimes it does get snubbed.
Oh, I mean, because, dude, there's a lot of constant readers that don't read The Dark Tower. So
True.
For outsiders that are going to write a little blurb about King, the fact that they mention it is it's good. I'll count it as a win.
Jesus Christ, there is so much on here for Stephen King. I'm going through just the audiobooks.
You know what they need to do? If they really wanted to challenge Audible, because that's the problem, is Audible's had a decade or more now to like just get ingratiated with people. What they need to do is maybe see if they can come up with some kind of exclusive, like say Night Shift, that doesn't have a full-on new age audiobook.
There you go.
You know?
I mean, well, they're getting Finn.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I'm guessing this is kind of a thing. I'm guessing where King is donating this story to them to help them out because I'm guessing he actually likes this company and maybe wants them to succeed. I can't see as why he would give an exclusivity to a place like this. So
I will say that I'm probably going to do this at some point. One, I want to hear Finn.
Yeah,
because I only do audiobooks now. But also looks like the Gwendys are on here as well.
Oh. Interesting.
That might be something worth doing. They have a 14-day free trial as well. So it's just interesting because me and you both have a hard time pulling the trigger on something so short.
Yeah.
The first Gwendy's is only like 3 hours long, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
And then to pull the trigger on that with an Audible credit, that's $15 right there that you're spending on that.
Yeah.
But this would be a subscription service for $12 a month. And you could
listen to all of them.
Listen to all of them in that 1 month, or maybe do 2 months and everything. And
yeah.
There's also, I mean, they have everything. Billy Summers Laters is on here. They got some stuff that I didn't know. They have his On Writing.
Okay.
Quitters Inc.
Yeah. We talked about that one not too long ago. It's the one where the mafia, you hire this like mob connected company to help you quit smoking. We talked about that. We talked about that like 2 episodes ago, I think. So yeah,
this is interesting. I'm gonna have to remember this.
Indeed, I'll have to take a deeper dive onto it.
Yeah,
but we do have a follow up here. So the Shining Axe has been
Just recently
sold.
sold, right?
We talked about it when the auction just started.
Yeah.
So the auction has ended.
So that's right.
The
that's
auction
right.
has ended, and then it ended up netting $175,000. And it was a bidding war with 12 buyers. This is from Who Knows, because they don't credit anyone at TMZ. On the 2nd of May, 2022, it says the famous action The Shining's horror film is now in the hands of someone else, thankfully, because it just sold for $175,000. Dylan Kosniski, rep for the Gotta Have Rock and Roll auction house, tells TMZ a successful businessman who's a big fan of the movie just snagged the axe after winning a bid, winning the bidding war amongst 12 prospective buyers. We're told that the total price tag was $175,000 after adding a $35,000 buyer's premium, which I don't know what that means. The axe is made of foam and resin, so it's lightweight. It's been up for sale for the past in the past, going for $61,000. So it's more than doubled in price since the last time it was sold. So very interesting, because I remember when we were looking at the article, they were saying that, or when they first announced it, they were talking about that they thought that it might fetch $100,000. But then when I actually went to it and it had been going for a couple days, its estimate was something like 70 to 90,000. So I was like, oh man, maybe they're overestimating it. But no, they blew away that by getting $175,000 for it. So.
Oh, okay.
But there's a part 2 to this story.
Real fast. Buyer's premium is basically a commission by the auctioneer.
Oh, okay.
There's more to it than that. It's a percentage, but it's basically it is charged by the auctioneer in addition to the commission. Also, it's addition to the commission, which has already been charged by auction houses to sellers.
Huh.
So it's a bit way.
So it's just highway extortion.
It's kind of a way to get it from the buyer as well as the seller, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. So there's a part 2 to this, though.
Okay.
As there was another article then that was posted a couple days later that says the Shining axe purchased for $175,000 at auction swings into Colorado's Stanley Film Center. This is by Susan Bergenson from IndieWire on May 4th, 2022. The axe that Jack Torrance used to torture his family in The Shining officially will be a centerpiece of the new Stanley Film Center in Estes Park, Colorado.
Oh.
The iconic prop from Stanley Kubrick's 1980 film, based on Stephen King's novel, sold for a reported $175,000 at auction. An anonymous buyer has donated the axe to the Stanley Film Center, a major film and music entertainment complex in development on the grounds of the iconic Stanley Hotel, which inspired Stephen King's The Shining. So whoever won it has now donated it to this.
That's really cool.
So basically, it sounds like on the grounds where the Stanley is at, they're building a entertainment thing for music and film.
That's
and
really cool.
Now one of the centerpieces of their collection will be Jack Torrance's axe, because this gentleman, whoever it was, anonymous buyer, donated it. So it's pretty damn cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So
that's the kind of thing I'd do if I was a billionaire.
Yeah, I mean, I would. I'd keep the fucking thing. There would be nothing better for me than having Jack Torrance's axe on the wall. I'll like buy, what's his name? The Halloran. I'd like buy his chopped up coat,
his parka,
and donate it to them or something. But I'd keep the axe. In addition to being a multi-genre film and music venue, the center will have a museum that celebrates the horror film genre.
Nice.
So it's going to be horror-centric.
It sounds like we need to go to Colorado.
Yeah, I think so, when this is finished. The Stanley Film Center is a nonprofit funded in part by Colorado State Regional Tourism Grant. And then we got a quote here. I can't think of anything more appropriate than this piece of film history to start the museum's collection. Incoming Stanley Film Center CEO Rand Harrington told IndieWire. This is the first of many exciting announcements that we expect to make. The Stanley Hotel has a long and storied connection to The Shining. King stayed in room 217 at the hotel and was inspired to write the novel based on the Mountainside Hotel. For the book, the Stanley was renamed to the Overlook. Construction for the Stanley Film Center is currently underway with planned opening in the spring of 2024. The axe will be incorporated into the tours at the Stanley Hotel until the film center opens. So it is there at the Stanley. So if we ever wanted to go to the Stanley.
No.
Why not?
No.
I would love to go to the Stanley.
You have fun. Send me a postcard from the
That'd be a good place to go and do a podcast. It's
No.
live at the Stanley, man.
No.
That'd be great.
No.
Great. See if we can get room 217.
Nope. Doesn't that book out like years in advance?
I mean, I looked at it like probably 10 years ago or so, and it was something like you had to reserve your thing at least a year or so out. So it says The Shining is recognized as one of the best films of all time despite its mixed reviews upon release. The film was back The film was back in the news early this year when the Razzies rescinded star Shelley Duvall's Worst Actress Award. Kubrick notoriously tormented the actress to elicit her terrified performance. Ultimately, fuck the Razzies. I don't think that they should exist at all. But at least good on them for taking that away from Shelley, because she definitely didn't deserve it. So, Josh, the hotel is in Estes Park. So, I think it'd be fun to have a Dark Tower trip to the Stanley.
No.
I mean, we could just tell you, don't worry, it's just the hotel from Dumb and Dumber.
No. You're not getting me there.
It is allegedly haunted, too.
Oh, I know. I'm that's why. Why do you think I'm saying no?
I don't know. Now, what if the Shining play they had in Colorado was to play at Estes Park? Then we'd have to go.
And we can go to that, but we're not staying at the Stanley. You can stay at the Stanley all you want. I don't want to.
Oh, I think it'd be fun, though.
Oh, they did Ghost Hunter episodes there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be fun. All right, so next up, we've got a fun little Dark Tower article here. And it's why adaptation of Stephen King's Dark Tower series has never been successful. And this is by Michael Boyle from Slash Film on the 12th of May, 2022.
Because they've never made one.
I mean, they made one.
No, they made a pilot for one. They never made an actual adaptation.
I mean, the movie. They made a movie.
Oh, I thought it said TV. Sorry.
No, I mean, it says the Dark Tower series, but it's talking about the series, the book.
Yeah,
so
that transitioned into my brain. The TV show that was supposed to come out before, and then the Amazon Prime one, and all that.
So it says, since the success of Game of Thrones, studios have been looking for new fantasy series that appeal to adult audiences. Amazon's has its The Wheel of Time series, Netflix, and it's has its upcoming the Sandman. HBO has Game of Thrones again. Somehow the Dark Tower series by Stephen King has managed to go all this time without a proper adaptation, even as Hollywood rushes to adapt all of King's other works, turning his short stories into TV shows and remaking his novels multiple times over. This series has been left mostly untouched. Which is true. Yeah, we've basically had one movie and then a show that was never picked up. So
Mike says I would pay to see that pilot. I would too.
Yeah, exactly. So the closest we've gotten to that adaptation was the 2017 film starring Idris Elba as the gunslinger Roland Deschain and Matthew McConaughey as the hero of the story, the Man in Black.
No. You're quoting someone. That's against the law, Tad. No.
Oh, man. The movie was widely and rightfully derided.
No, go back and fix it. You're quoting someone. You're not going to get us sued.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you do.
It was widely and rightfully derided as nobody involved with the film seemed interested in capturing the characters, themes, or even basic plots of the original book, leading King fans to wonder why they even bothered making the adaptation in the first place. It's especially... It especially stings considering the opening novel, The Gunslinger, should have been the easiest in the series to adapt into a film, which I actually disagree with. I don't think
Drawing of the Three is going to be the easiest.
Yeah, it says being only 200 pages long and being the only book in the series with a relatively simple plot. Amazon attempted to adapt the series into a TV show run by Glenn Mazzara, but never quite got off the ground. Yeah, I totally disagree. I think The Gunslinger is not as easy to adapt as people think. You can't just look at the book.
Hey, you got one.
Which I've got right here. You can't just look at the book and how thick or thin it is and say that would be an easy movie to make. You have to actually read the damn thing and see that a good chunk of that is internal monologue and there's flashbacks and all kinds of stuff. It's not as cut and dry of a narrative as The Drawing of the Three. That would be an easy fucking movie. That's a 2-hour movie without even trying. Also, it writes itself.
Also, the fact we talked about this, maybe last year or something like that, is that how do you have that movie? Roland's not the good guy.
And that Mike mentions that too. Roland is an extra a-hole-ish in The Gunslinger. He does actually talk about that here in a bit. So we will. He will cover what his view of that is. But I kind of agree with him. As I don't think that Roland being as cold is the hardest thing to deal with. I mean, look at Game of Thrones. They built that show, with a lot of fucking heinous ass characters.
Yes.
So
but that comes down to what me and you have talked about with how I felt about Nightcrawler, that movie with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah,
if there's no one good to root for, it's hard to watch. No one's going to watch a series if you have no one to root for, or a movie if you have no one to root for.
And that's where I think the movie has actually did it right, is play it through Jake. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably in a way, that's the kind of the I don't know, the lifeline you throw out to people is like that Jake is there for a good chunk of the movie. Yeah, you don't have him at the very beginning, but you do have him all the way up until a certain point at the end. I think he would kind of be the one to really try to keep people.
You could make it to where he is in the entire movie. You could have Roland literally walking up to the way station be the start, and then the internal monologue and the flashbacks and everything like that is him telling Jake.
Yeah.
That really take Brown and combine him with Jake and have him the battle of the massacre at Tull, and everything like that. Have that be him telling Jake as they chase the man in black.
And wouldn't that be the ultimate Roland thing too? Is telling that story to Jake?
Yeah,
because Roland at that point he wouldn't care. He wouldn't be like, "Oh, this is a kid." No, he'd tell him the full story, completely unedited. So this basically what this guy does is hits some major points that he thinks are problems, and then kind of gives details on them. So the first one he has is the adaptation problem number 1, the 600-page flashback. He says, one of the boldest decisions King has ever made as a storyteller was with Wizard and Glass, the 4th book of the series. After ending the 3rd book with a massive cliffhanger and taking a six full years to get around to writing the sequel, this book does thankfully resolve the cliffhanger in an interesting and satisfying way. And then the rest of the book is made up of Roland telling the rest of his quartet about his tragic love story from his teen years. King spares no details, and although the love story between young Roland and Susan is often considered one of the most heartfelt things King has ever written, it is also meant it also meant that the readers who have been waiting 6 years to follow Roland's quest to the Dark Tower were treated with a 4th installment where the quest barely moves forward, which is why Tad hated it to begin with.
This is true.
It's my favorite book now, but I fucking loathed that book the first time through. To add insult to injury, it would take another 5 years before the 5th book came out. So, yeah, that's brutal. It says this is a major storytelling hurdle for any adaptation of the series they'll have to grapple with. How do you deal with this big flashback that puts such a long break on the main plot? Glenn Mazzara's decision was to start the series with a book 4 flashback, essentially choosing to tell Roland's story chronological order. Season 1 would have ended with the conclusion of his love story with Susana Delgado. Season 2 would have dealt with the fall of Roland's homeland, Gilead. Another flashback material in the actual beginning of the Gunslinger, book 1, wouldn't have begun until season 3. And he says it's not a surprise this show never got off the ground. And this is interesting because I don't think we've really heard a whole lot of people be critical of Glenn Mazzara's take. He says it never got off the ground. As this approach to the story seems doomed to fail, there's a reason why King decided to start the series with The Gunslinger and not Wizard and Glass. The big narrative hook of the series is that Roland learning to value human connection with people around him. So I've never really thought about that. Yeah, are you undercutting Roland's story by basically taking, because think about how long we had to wait before we got that insight into Roland's psyche. We're already pretty invested and we had been through a lot. So does it kind of fuck everything up by taking that and giving it to the beginning? Because now you're never really seeing hardened Roland. You're seeing young, soft, impressionable Roland that then you see harden. So you're never let's say Glenn Mazzara got his whole show done. The audience of that, if they had never read the books, they would never experience the Roland that we experienced. Because by the time you even got to book 1 in season 3, they would have followed him through all that, so they would understand where he's coming from. So they would never have that same apprehension that you and I had with Roland that first book. They would never have all just so. I don't know this. I actually kind of find this intriguing that this guy's bringing that up because I don't think I've heard anyone necessarily call this out as a problem before. But now that he's mentioning it, I really think he's right. I think it does kind of hurt.
It does
to start with, even though I love book 4, you can't really start with that, you know. So I don't know. What do you think?
I'm with you on that for sure, because it is an interesting point. Is if you take away that character, I mean, let's be honest, Han Solo is Han Solo.
Yeah.
Right. If you watch Solo before watching A New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi, and Force Awakens, you're going to have a very different take on Han Solo.
Or even the big debate is how do you watch, like, your kid? How do you have them watch Star Wars?
Yeah.
You know, do you watch it chronologically or do you watch it as they were released? Because if you watch it chronologically, that's a whole different experience. And I know some people try to just cling to the whole I am your father reveal, but it's not even just that. So Vader, if somebody just watched 1 through 6 in that order, they're never going to experience Darth Vader like you and I did. Because they're going to be, the way Vader's sitting there when he's holding that freaking rebel by the throat and shit, like, they're not going to have the same feeling that you and I had, because they will have seen the entire backstory, so they're going to have at least some compassion for Vader. So, I think it's the same thing here. I think that, starting with Roland's backstory is That's kind of that's a scary thing to do a little bit. But then it is true though, because I've thought about it too, just as kind of a fun thing in my head where it's like, man, Tad, you're given, HBO gives you like 6-7 seasons to do the Dark Tower. How do you do it? Dude, the biggest fucking heartburn I would have is book 4, because of Jake, because Jake's a fucking kid. How are you going to deal with taking a whole year off with a kid that fucking age? Because we all know, we've seen it on TV shows before.
Yeah.
Look at The Walking Dead, for Christ's sake. I didn't even watch it that long, but where did his son, was he like 16 by the time the fucking show wrapped up, or did they kill his kid at some point?
They killed him.
Okay. I mean, but it's one of those things, right? How much did he age in it? Or like Harry Potter dealt with that, because each of those things takes place a year apart, but it takes at least 2 to 3 years to get a movie made. So it's like there comes a point when you're just like, God damn kids, like
Hey, Alan, we warned about spoilers at the top of the show. We did.
Oh yeah, what spoilers? We
just spoiled Walking Dead.
Oh man. I don't even know if anyone's...
I'm sorry, Alan. I really am. I probably should have said it in a different way.
But it's just one of those things that if Jake didn't exist, it would be a hell of a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
But like ultimately, yeah, if I'm sitting there mapping this stuff out, I'm paranoid. I'd be terrified of how the fuck do you deal with that? Like, because you legitimately, if you're doing seasons, if you took a whole season off. So now you're going to come back and Jake's going to be where he was supposed to be, but now this kid's going to be 2 years older. And when a kid's that age, 2 years is a lot. Give me a 12-year-old to a 14-year-old. That's a sizable chunk of years, man.
That's one of the parts of, especially for a boy, more so than a girl. Some girls go through puberty a little bit earlier than boys do.
Yeah.
12 to 14. That's where you see them.
Terminator 2, they had to redub the whole movie because he was going through puberty.
His voice
changed, so they had to go through and redub the entire fucking movie, because half the movie he sounded one way, half the movie he sounded another.
Because of his voice.
Because he was right at that age. And that was a movie, so they filmed for like 6 months is all. So how are you going to deal with it?
You also get those, I'm not going to call them freaks of nature. You got those...
kids you see they're in like 10th grade, but they look like they're like 20.
Well, no, the one I'm talking about is I literally saw a video yesterday of a 14-year-old kid playing football who was 6'2" and 210 pounds.
Yeah,
that happens.
Yeah,
that happens. Yeah. I mean, maybe not that drastic, but I mean, you remember me when you met me sophomore year in high school?
Yeah,
I was tiny.
Yeah, and look at anyone. Just go grab your yearbook from 7th grade, and then just look at everyone 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and just look at how you're changing, and just deal with the fact that like. I mean, do we even spend a year on this journey in the actual book? And I know you can change it for the show, but I think ultimately that would be probably the thing that gave me the biggest heartburn. Is like, how the fuck do you deal with the Wizard and Glass stuff? Because
Alan's got the answer for you.
Robot Jake. Yeah, either that or what do they do to Gary Coleman? They give him drugs or something to stunt his growth.
Oh, I can't remember.
I
heard there was something, but I didn't. It's too depressing.
Do something like that. Just. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess nowadays they're doing the whole de-aging thing, but it's not doing all that.
It'd be interesting if someone does it on a kid.
They did. Chapter 2.
Oh, did they really do that with them?
Yeah, they had to de-age a couple of them for their flashback scenes. Yeah. So I don't know. Very interesting. It'll be. It's one of the hardest things in my mind to figure out. Let's see. Then he goes on here, and then he said his next point says, getting to know Roland one book at a time. He says the first book of the series is often criticized for feeling cold, and he says, and that's by design. And you mentioned that. Who was it, Mike, that mentioned that earlier in the chat as well? Roland we meet in this book is hardened, so focused on his quest to reach the Dark Tower that he's barely human. He's completely closed off emotionally to the point where even when he does have a connection with another person, and he says in parentheses, the young Jake Chambers, who mysteriously died in our world and ended up in Roland's, he ends up callously sacrificing the child to achieve his own ends. The next book is when Roland's quest finds him forced to create a team. This is in parentheses, a quartet, as this book calls it, which pulls him out of his shell. He ends up in a world-hopping mission where he meets and rescues Eddie, a troubled heroin addict, and Susanna, a woman who unknowingly suffers from dissociative identity disorder.
Unknowingly?
What's that? No, unknowingly.
Oh, unknowingly.
Yeah.
I thought you said unknowingly. I was like, wow, what a prick.
Yeah, no. By the halfway point of book 3, The Wastelands, Roland manages to redeem his earlier sin by saving Jake's life, and these characters end up forming a tight, inseparable bond. Part of the fun of these books is watching Roland slowly open up, despite the first book taking place almost entirely from his perspective. By the time we get to the beginning of Wizard and Glass, the reader still knows about as much about the character as Eddie, Susanna, and Jake do. This is why the massive flashback in the book works well. It's not just that it fills us in on Roland's backstory. It's that it has the reader learn the backstory along with the other characters. The main arc taking place throughout the 7-book series is the quartet becoming closer and closer with each other, and then erasing the communal nature of the Wizard and Glass would have been severely undermining that arc. The nostalgic feel of the flashbacks would also be lost.
It's true.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've never really considered that before, but I think I kind of agree with him, especially because it's my favorite book. And I really do think one of the reasons is one of my favorite books is that it is finally that look into Roland. I love Roland. He's my favorite character. So finally to get that opportunity to really dig into him, find his backstory, find out, cool, we saw him at the gallows. We've seen a couple things from book 1 flashback, but overall it's like, cool, there's a kid, and then there's this fucking Terminator inhuman cunt guy that just is the most horrific motherfucker, like killing children, killing women, like all the stuff in Tull. Like, it's like he's a fucking terrible human being, man. Like, and so it's like, how does that happen? It's like the origin story thing, right? It's like, cool, you got this person here, and then it's like you see some kind of flashback and it's like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, and then to finally get the story filled at some point is just magic. And I think that's always why I've loved Wizard and Glass so much. Not only is it a good love story, but me, love stories aren't my thing usually, but to finally get the fill in for Roland, most of that does, and I've never really thought about that, but like, imagine if someone read book 4 first and you gave it to them first, like, do they appreciate it as much as you and I did as we read the story?
Not only appreciate it, but also it changes how they view Roland going forward with the series and everything. It's done in film and TV so many times where you start at a midway point and then come to the end. You don't start at the beginning. You get that later on. Hell, we talked about Game of Thrones earlier. Yeah. Let's talk about Ned Stark. You don't see him, the Battle of Three Rivers and
you don't see
Robert
all the backstory
Baratheon
stuff until the last season, wasn't it?
Not until second to last season.
It was a ways. It was
a ways in, because that's when they revealed finally
the backstory
and everything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to stop spoilers. Sorry, Alan. I don't want to spoil Game of Thrones for you if you haven't seen it. But it's like that. Star Wars even. I mean, hell, let's go back to the 70s with Star Wars in the 80s. I mean, I flew with your father in the Clone Wars. What the hell is the Clone Wars? What is this? What are we doing here? That kind of thing and everything like that. And it's a classic thing to do in film. You don't start at the beginning. You start at the middle. Hell, I mean, your favorite show on TV right now is technically the beginning.
Yeah.
Let's be perfectly honest. Better Call Saul is where it starts.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad's where El Camino technically is where it ends, but that's the movie after Breaking Bad.
Well, I will say, in Better Call Saul, there is some flash forwards that may get us into the future a little bit.
Oh.
So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's one of those things that is done all the time in film and cinema, but it's never really done the reverse way.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you do have stories that start right at the beginning. Lord of the Rings starts right at the beginning.
The Hobbit does, yeah.
Like Lord of the Rings starts at the begining. Hey, here's how the ring happened.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
It starts right at the beginning. Now, they gloss over the middle part there with the Hobbit and everything, and they kind of just fast forward how he came to have it and everything.
Yeah.
But it does start at the beginning. It's not one way. It's not one way's right, one way's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the way that the Dark Tower is written is done in film and TV a lot.
Yeah,
it is. You see it where it's
so it wouldn't be unknown.
No, to start at book 1 and just go through in proper order. There's nothing different than Game of Thrones there. There's nothing different than Star Wars did there. I mean, hell, Star Wars released 4, 5, 6, then 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
I mean, let's talk about one of the most iconic things in all of cinema.
Yeah,
did it first.
Yeah,
we could do it with the Dark Tower, and then we don't lose what you're talking about.
Yeah. Exactly. And Alan says, or even 2 years, kids just grow. LOL, I'd say throw a nod to him being linked to his own time and universe. and that's just cause for him to age, then you've got an alibi, which is true. You can easily write something like that to because time does work differently.
Have them pull a different kid through the door in book 3 and just be like, oh yeah, you change a little bit when you come over when you're a kid.
Yeah. Although the other thing I guess I will say I have been was a little bit critical of Mazzara's thing is that apparently he was intending to recast Roland, which I think is fucking insane to recast the star of your show. Like that seems nuts to me. I think you could do things to age him up and just use the same guy or whatever. But I guess for a lesser character, and not that Jake's a lesser character that much, but I guess you could recast him if you really wanted to. And if you had to, but I think you could probably just roll with it, even though it would be tough. Because again, I mean, let's look at the kid now, right? I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden. Tom Taylor. I always used to confuse him because 2017 is when he made that, so he probably filmed it in late 2016. I guess that's a lot of years though now, but between then and now, but I'm sure. But even look at him in the Kid Who Would Be King or something like that he was in. That came in a couple years later. Look up a picture of him in that versus where he was in the Dark Tower. He doesn't look entirely different, but he does look a couple years older, and that's something you got to deal with. And then Alan says the way that way when they make it to the tower, he could be 19. Yeah, no shit. That's exactly what I'd be fearing though. Is if it were me, trying to plan this thing out. Is my worry is that Jay could be fucking shaving by the time he got to the end of this series.
Yeah, it's
good lord, man.
And honestly, you really could make it to where it is years instead of months.
Yeah, you could.
Like it kind of does.
You could certainly. Yeah, definitely. And then he does say, no worries, happened plenty of times. He has ruin away. Mike says, to be fair, book 4, Roland's love interest is burned at the stake, and he kills his own mother.
He's tricked into killing his own mother. Let's not slander the man. He's gone through enough.
He does kill his mother, though. Then going to book 1, I wouldn't be surprised by his behavior at that point, which is true. So you do undercut. You
also undercut the shock value a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, let's be perfectly honest. If I had read Wizard and Glass and then I'm reading book 1, it's it's coming to a head. I'm like, these people have no chance.
Yeah, they're fucked, man.
They're fucked.
He's not going to hesitate.
I've seen what this guy can do, and I know that he's not going to hesitate because I know that he didn't hesitate when he was in his mother's chambers and there was someone there. He didn't hesitate to think, maybe that's Mom.
Not just someone, it was Rhea.
Hate her.
Rhea has to be dealt with in the show, man.
If there's a show, she has to.
Yeah, if they do, I mean, let's say when they do this, she can't just.
You're not usually like that.
She can't just disappear without being fucking dealt with. She has to be dealt with, man. That would be one of the most heinous things, is if they did what Stephen King did and just let her disappear. Okay, so moving on here. Problem number 2, Detta. Yeah, and we can probably all see where this is going.
Yeah, we know what this is.
With most novels written in the 80s, there are going to be things that don't age well. Combine that with Stephen King his self-admitted flaw that he's not all that good at writing black and or female characters in general, and you got yourself a weird, poorly aged problem in Detta Holmes. See, before Susanna became Susan, at the end of Drawing the Three, she was initially Odetta Holmes, a wealthy black woman living in 1964 New York. Although Odetta herself is perfectly normal and decent, she has an alternate personality called Detta. She doesn't know about. Detta is a violent, sadistic, and as a minor character points out when he meets her for the first time, she, quote, talks like a cartoon black woman.
Yep.
So most of Detta's time on page is spent shouting stuff like, you ain't nothing but a bunch of honky sons of bitches. And then he says in parentheses, a real quote from section 2, chapter 2 of the novel. And making weird sexual advances on other white main characters. This characterization isn't quite as lazy as it probably sounds on the surface. It implies that Detta is basically a personification of a lot of Odetta's internalized racism. Odetta grew up wealthy, disconnected from the poor and working class black people at the time, and Detta is acting out her childhood ideas of the worst versions of what society told her about that a black person would be. Her personality split happens as a result of a head injury suffered as a child. Although Detta is a short-lived character, the two personalities are combined into a much more stable Susan at the end of the book, or Susanna at the end of the book. It's easy to see how someone considering making this adaptation of the series would take one look at any of Detta's scenes and think to themselves, "Yeah, I'm not touching this." There are plenty of ways an adaptation can go about handling Detta, but it's going to be a challenge. And to me, it's kind of like the Idris Elba thing. This is easily solved for me. Like, she doesn't have to be the cartoonish character, but you could still make her a fucking vindictive, evil, vile.
Just make her violent.
Yeah.
Just make her one is sweet and homey and Odetta, and just like Odetta is. Make the other one a freaking serial killer.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a serial killer, but a serial assaulter. You know, like she just beats the shit out of white guys.
Yeah.
And not even the white guys. You just make her where she just beats the hell out of anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
Don't make it so that she's a klepto and you know the Roadhouse games and stuff like that. Just make it that she goes out in a wheelchair.
I'd keep the klepto thing. I actually think that's one of the more interesting things.
It is pretty funny
about the whole thing. Because again, seeing the dichotomy of like this rich woman that has a driver, she's living on the nicest parts of New York City.
She's stealing like
costume jewelry. Yeah.
I always did like that line that she's stealing costume jewelry. But have it where she, you know, just rolls around and just beats up homeless people or some shit like that, you know? You could still make her a vile, vindictive piece of shit. Just leave off the racist crap.
Yeah. And I think, like, not even like that, like, she's racist, because I think you could, like, do that still. I think what I would just be careful of is the like, cartoonishly, like, whatever you'd call it, like, just caricature. Like, she's not like a real person. I think, like, yeah, just make her like cunning and sly and just dangerous. And you could make her fucking like verbally violent too. You know what I mean? Like whatever. But you just don't make it to where she's like talking like a freaking minstrel show. Yeah. I don't know. That's what I'd say.
No, it's easy. It's easy to still make her heinous and horrible and all those things that her character needs to be without that. I like the way he put it, the cartoon racist.
Yeah. And I think the what I would do is make sure the actor's really good, and that like it's all like in the eyes, which is so much acting anyway. Because if it's all in the eyes, then later on when Detta shows back up, surfaces,
like, oh shit,
you'll know immediately that there's a tinge of Detta there. You know, and that'd be amazing.
It would be really good.
And we got to have Detta in there anyway, because Detta's amazing.
You just like Detta
because she's a badass. She's a badass, sir. Let's see. Mike says, extreme tangent warning. Rhea Perlman with some Dark Ages makeup as Rhea the Coos. That's
it's not bad.
Yeah. I will say, there's in Better Call Saul, the one of the best characters in it is Kim Wexler. It's the love interest of Jimmy McGill. But her name is Ray Seahorn, but she spells it RHEA, but she pronounces it Ray, which you could see.
Okay.
But still, when I see it and I read it, I'm just like, Rhea.
You just like want to hiss at it.
It's just like, oh my god. But yeah, yeah. And then Mike says, "Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. I dare you." Alan says, "Holy shit, LOL." She's 74, so we'd have to do it quick. Yeah, I could see that. She's the lady, of course, from Cheers, is what most people would know her from.
And let's be perfectly honest, she's 74, so I mean, yes, we want to do it quick, but a couple more years wouldn't hurt.
I mean, let's be honest.
Less makeup, right?
That Downtown Abbey thing.
Yeah,
we saw the trailer for one of the movies we went to recently.
Yeah.
Dude, the lady in that's the lady that was in in Titanic. She was like 100 in 1997. How is she still alive?
She's not in Titanic.
Yes, she is.
No, she's not. That's Professor McGonagall. She's in Secret Garden. She's not in Titanic. She's not the mom.
I'm pretty sure she is.
She's not, dude. I looked it up. It's not
pretty
the mom.
Sure she is.
No, she's not. I can tell you she's not.
Yeah, she's been.
I'm willing to bet you because I already looked it up because we talked about this outside the theater after we got done watching Doctor Strange. She is not the mom in Titanic.
I believe she. Either way, she's been 100 for a long fucking time, man.
She's go look up pictures of her in Secret Garden, which came out before Titanic, and she looks older than she does now.
How was that, like the early 90s?
93, 94, 95, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I was about to say, I remember that one from when I was a kid. I never watched it, but I remember seeing it. But yeah.
Maggie Smith is the one that you're thinking of. That's Professor McGonagall in Harry Potter.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Harry Potter.
No, but she's also in Secret Garden, but she is not the mom in Titanic.
I swear she is. I'll have to find what I'm looking for with her. All right, so problem number 3, the Stephen King multiverse. Another challenging with adapting the Dark Tower series is that the story goes on. Your knowledge of other King's novels becomes increasingly vital to fully appreciating what happens on the page. There's a moment in Wizard and Glass that only makes sense if you've read The Stand, for instance. Father Callahan, a major character from King's second novel, Salem's Lot, shows up in the 5th book, Wolves of the Kala, and ends up being a major part of the series. Throughout the books, there are references to the Stand, the Eye of the Dragon, in particular, the villain of both novels, Randall Flagg, implied to be the same person in 2 different universes, is a major antagonist in the Dark Tower series. There's also references to It, The Shining, Insomnia, Everything's Eventual, and so on. Most fans recommend that if you don't read the Dark Tower series books on their own, but you read those other books along with them to get the full experience. This leads to some obvious storytelling dilemmas when you're focusing on this series, be it for a TV show or a film series. How many of these books can or should they reference? Which I would also stop and say, also, can you reference? Because some of these things are belong to other studios, no doubt.
Like Salem's Lot and Callahan and everything like that. Can you actually have Father Callahan in it because he's in the book, or because you can have him in it, but he can't talk about Salem's Lot?
Yeah, that would be tough. I don't know how the laws and stuff on that would work. The other thing too is it's like sometimes film rights and TV rights are different, but yeah, I don't know. That's a whole can of worms. Before introducing Callahan, for instance, how much of Salem's Lot would they need to show their audiences?
Yeah.
This all gets way more complicated when you take into account the meta aspects of the later novels. At the end of the Wolves of the Kala, the quartet finds a bunch of books written by some guy named Stephen King, one of which is titled Salem's Lot. Callahan has a bit of an existential crisis at this point, which is actually one of my favorite little things in the story.
Yeah.
Realizing that a person he's never met has written a fictional book that depicts the real moments from his life, including his private thoughts that no one else could have known about. He's struck with a sudden, horrifying possibility that he's a fictional character. Which, this all sounds so silly, but dude, that is one of my favorite Callahan moments in the whole thing. It's a moment that nearly breaks the series, which is true. I've never, really. I mean, there's definitely the whole. Not to mention, what about the other stuff? Doctor Doom, lightsabers, sneeches. Like, there's some other legal entanglements that are in there. And Doctor Doom is potentially far closer to showing up in the Marvel cinematic stuff. Mm-hmm. So they may be a little bit more protective of that. that than they would have been maybe 10 years ago or so.
After they bought Fox, it's only a matter of time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And he's a huge player in the Marvel comics.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
But let's be perfectly honest. Also, Harry Potter is owned by Warner Brothers. So if you're looking at just those two alone, Doctor Doom is owned by Disney now, and Harry Potter is owned by Warner Brothers,
as well as Salem's Lot.
Salem's Lot is coming from Warner Brothers as well. So pick your poison. Which one are we going to have?
Yeah, exactly. So
also, do you want to associate Harry Potter stuff with the Stephen King adaptation?
Exactly.
They may not want that.
Yeah. Problem number 4, the Stephen King of it all. King wasn't content to simply raise the idea that his characters are aware that they're fictional characters. No, he wrote himself into the books and had Roland and Eddie talk with him. The 6th book, Song of Susanna, has Roland and Eddie showing up at Stephen King's home in Maine looking for answers, and they discover that the real story of their lives is being channeled through Stephen King by a supernatural force in the series of books. It makes sense, trust me. Roland and Eddie then urge King to hurry up and finish the books already, which he begrudgingly agrees to. I mean, thank you, Roland and Eddie. Heroes. Truly heroes for trying to hurry Stephen King's sorry ass up.
It's true.
A big part of the 7th book, The Dark Tower, centers around Roland and Jake attempting to prevent Stephen King from dying in a real-life car accident that nearly killed him. Saving King's life is important to the characters because the car accident took place in 1999, and if King had died in the accident, he would not have been able to finish the final 3 books of the series, which were published in rapid succession in 2003, early 2004, and late 2004. This was already a deeply controversial plot point in the books, but how would this work for a television show or a movie exactly? Instead of stumbling across Salem's Lot, the novel, does Father Callahan discover a DVD of the upcoming Salem's Lot movie? Are they still reckoning with the idea that they might be book characters, or are they reckoning with the idea that they're unknowingly characters on a TV show? Or would it make more sense to throw in the additional layer of them realizing that they're a movie character in an adaptation of a book? Additionally, this all sounds like it'd be very interesting to watch, but it sounds like a massive headache for the screenwriter from the screenwriting perspective. To pull this story off would require a lot of boldness on the part of the show's writers. And if the 2017 Dark Tower movie was any indication, boldness has been in short supply so far. Which is true. I mean, I've never really even thought about some of that too. Like, I think I've always just interpreted that we would just do exactly what the book did, and like they'd find books, but it's like, wait a minute, it is true. Once you make it into a movie or a series, don't you kind of have to change things around and like, is it like the Freddy movie where he starts to like kill people because they're going to stop making Freddy movies?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's some interesting stuff for sure. I do love the idea of Callahan finding a Salem's Lot DVD.
It would be so funny.
Because how many Salem's Lot movies have there been that have actually put Father Callahan with the cross on either the cover or the back cover? It's usually an image that's pretty epic, so it usually gets thrown in there. So just imagine him like seeing that on like the dust cover of a DVD.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious. What's going on in the chat here?
Josh says, villain of both novels, Randall Flagg.
Yeah, I mean, I left that nonsense in there. I know that he wrote it that way, but total false.
Mike says RF is the misunderstood hero. Josh, he's my favorite Stephen King character. Josh said I have to sit down and have a long think of who my favorite Stephen King character is. And then Alan asks if Mike is in fact Tad. And Mike says, no, I'm not Tad. He is just so correct on so many things. So, of course, I had to hit Mike with a hashtag Mike is terrible. And Mike says, LOL, thank you, sir. My life is complete at Tad. My life for you.
Imagine if
I'm not a fan of this My Life for Youth business giving it to Tad. I don't like this. I'm not a fan. I don't want to go wandering around the woods of Boulder.
Oh, man. Good old Randall Flagg. I can't wait for that.
So is Mike going to be your trash can man? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'll treat everyone nicely so there'll be no nukes in my future.
It's not Flagg that mistreats trash can man, if you remember.
Yeah.
He feels slighted by just some of the guys.
Yeah, it's true. So the next thing he has here says the best way to go about it. He says, in the end, I'd agree on Glenn Mazzara that this has to be a series because it's best equipped for a TV show, not a movie. Most of the books in this series play out in a fairly episodic manner anyway, which lends itself well to the TV medium. Unlike Mazzara's vision, I'd argue that starting with the opening pages of The Gunslinger is absolutely vital to any successful adaptation of these books. He says there's a strange misconception amongst a lot of Dark Tower fans when talking about the adaptation, however, where fans often seem to think that a TV series would have to dedicate one season to nearly every book. It's an odd assumption given that we've already seen with the Game of Thrones and The Expanse that this isn't necessary. Dedicating a whole season to The Wizard in Glass, for instance, would be a death sentence for any show that cared even a little bit about keeping viewers tuned in. Roland's backstory is something that would have to be told in the Lost-style flashbacks throughout the series, which that's an interesting idea. Do like Lost style flashbacks where you're literally telling Wizard and Glass throughout the entire run of the show in small bites, maybe an episode at a time here and there, but you're not doing a full season or don't take it all in one bite.
We were literally talking about a show today and how they took an episode and did something different with it, and it's very popular. Not popular. It's one of the most talked about ones with the newest season of Stranger Things, where they took an episode and did something different, and a lot of people criticized it. But it would be interesting if they did that with Dark Tower, and that would almost be like the highlight of the season, right? Is this the Wizard and Glass episode? It's the Wizard and Glass episode. We get more of that story. We get to pick up where we left off. So you get a cliffhanger built into your season every single year. Yeah. Where you only get one episode to further along that story.
And I don't even think you have to go full episodes. I think you could just do it at times where it's like, like it's a B story of one episode. One episode, like, cool. Like on the A story, you've got Roland and the quartet on the Midworld side, and maybe it culminates in them facing off with Shardik. But at the same time, it's cross cutting where the B story of that episode is whatever portion of Wizard and Glass. But then at times maybe you do dip in and it's a full episode, like you said, and then there's times where like whatever. But I think that'd be an interesting way to do it. He says. Or given maybe one or two full episodes of focus. He says 3 episodes max before the series moved on. And I think like 3 episodes, like, yes, but I wouldn't do them in a row for me. I think that they would be dispersed around, have like get a number of episodes you're going to do, call it maybe cool over the course of however many, we're doing 3 or 4, 5 seasons, something like that. I'd probably have like 5 or 6 episodes tops that'll be full episodes, and they'd be speckled throughout the whole show. Yeah. Like there would never be a time that you'd have 2 in a row, because I think that would kind of kill the momentum a little bit. Although that would be a Dark Tower thing to do, to kill momentum. So
it's been done before.
But I wouldn't do it from a show perspective if it were me. He says, most importantly, any TV adaptation of the Dark Tower should establish a core quartet of the series by the end of the first season. Season 1 should end with Book 3's halfway point, where the quartet of Roland, Eddie, Susanna, and Jake, and of course Oi, have fully formed. At the very least, the first season should make it to the end of the drawing of the three, with Roland, Eddie, and Susanna working together. And that's, yeah, I mean, especially because, yeah, you can look at Game of Thrones where they've condensed stuff. I could see that. Like, I think even we've fallen into that where we've just talked about, like, oh, yeah, season, Book 2 could be a full season and, like, whatever. And it's like, really, if you started thinking about it, no, you can compress 1, 2, and a chunk of 3 into a season easily. Like,
you could do the full arc of Jake.
Yeah.
You could do Jake's full arc into a season if you really wanted to.
Yeah. He says it's the quartet that makes these books shine, not just Roland, and any version of season 1 that focuses only on Roland is one that would fail to establish the tone of the series, and that would fail to give viewers a good idea of what they could expect going forward. I think that's true too, because like as much as I would be begrudging to admit this, you can't go that long without Eddie. You need that comic foil to Roland, like you need, and not in Susanna too. I don't want to like short her at all because she brings
some great comedic moments in Book 2,
and and
Book 3.
She brings a lot of dramatic. She brings a lot of everything, and I just think that Roland is like one of those kind of characters, the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
a lot of people have been talking about it recently because Halo has come out, and that one is don't go in the opposite direction of the Mandalorian, where people don't have their suits on all the time, whereas the Mandalorian did. But the only reason the Mandalorian worked with him in a helmet all the time is because you had Baby Yoda there. If you didn't have Baby Yoda, that would never have worked. It couldn't have just been a dude on his own doing missions like that first episode. No way a series could have gone on like that with a guy with no face.
I would have liked it.
No way.
Anyway.
It wouldn't have worked. People would have eventually just kind of lost, like, because you don't have anything to connect to. You're just seeing that, like, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, like, I don't think it would have worked. So, but you bring Baby Yoda in, now suddenly you've got something to play off of him. Mm-hmm. You need that for Roland too, and I think that's Eddie, that's Susanna, at least, if not Jake as well. Because I'm like so about crushing all the way through the door in season 1, but I could easily say get through the end of drawing of the 3 in the first season. I'm way comfortable with that because then by that point, you've got Eddie. You could bring Eddie in midpoint of season 1. And so now you've got Jake with him at first. Then there may be a couple episodes, and then you've got Eddie the rest of the way through that would carry you through. That gives you a balance of
you don't do multiple episodes between Jake and Eddie. You can't do it. Jake falls. Eddie has to be introduced in the next episode or the episode after that. You can't go multiple. You cannot go that far with Roland on his own. What are you going to fill it with?
I mean, I think you could go like the danger of like the beach and stuff like that until he gets to that first door. I think you could at least do an episode of that easily.
That's too much of an episode. Why? We're talking about condensing. Why would you do an entire episode without Eddie there? He should wake up. He should be attacked, and then by the end of the episode, you should have Eddie.
No, because that's the kind of area where you're going to also film things out with flashbacks as well. That's a perfect kind of areas where maybe just rolling on the beach alone wouldn't be enough to carry an episode. But if you also have him in his fucking delirium that's flashing back to, not necessarily that you're already going to be that deep into like Wizard and Glass story. Could be some of the other stuff too. Could be some of the stuff from book 1. You got a lot of rolling flashback stuff that you can jam in there.
Yeah, but you're trying to condense though. That feels like a filler episode where it could be more streamlined to where, yes, he's hurt. Yes, he's poisoned. Get him to the door. Get Eddie in.
Yeah.
And then, honestly, the best way for me, I think, is Roland telling his companions these stories. For me, that's a great way of doing it.
That'd be the narrative way to do it, but I think ultimately it's not going to be Roland just speaking. I think you want to actually film something and have it show on screen. But then I think that's the narrative way of doing it, where like what we're seeing is what Roland is telling them type thing. It's kind of the Wayne's World, diddle-doo, 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 Which, of course, great. I love Wayne's World, man. I
need to rewatch it. I've only seen it a couple times.
So next one, a successful adaptation still possible. It says most fans seem to agree HBO would be the best platform for the show, although presumably any network with that's cool with a lot of violence or profanity should be good enough. Assuming the seasons are anywhere from typical to 10 to 13 episodes, it's easy to picture the first few episodes dedicated to adapting the Gunslinger, the next 3 to 5 episodes dedicated to drawing of the 3, and the final few episodes of season 1 dedicated to the rescue of Jake Chambers, that takes up the first half of the Wizard and Glass. And he says, how would they decide, or how they decide to take the show from there is anyone's guess. If they do 13 episode seasons, they could probably fit the whole thing into maybe 3 tightly paced seasons, and maybe avoid the complications of Jake's actor growing up too fast. Or they could take a cue from American Gods and slow things down a little bit more. The first season of American Gods, in particular, did an amazing job of expanding every detail of the book to make for more compelling television. He says, although Glenn Mazzara's TV adaptation was a bust, the fact that they stayed in development hell for so long shows that Hollywood producers are at least aware now that the Dark Tower series is best suited for television and not film. And in a way, the failure of Mazzara's series is a blessing in disguise, whereas Mazzara's show was developed in a shadow of the massive failure of the movie. By now, enough time has passed that everyone has forgotten that the movie ever existed. He says there's no news of any upcoming attempt at the Dark Tower adaptation, but a successful one down the line is definitely still possible. The book series may be weird, uneven, and seemingly alienates the mainstream audiences. But if the success of Dune last year is any indication, audiences may be more open to the kind of thing than you think. And I agree. And I think really what it comes down to is when you're not doing film, you can appeal to a smaller audience. That's what's made, like, that's the magic of these streaming things and these whatever is like, it's no longer like when our parents were around and there was 3 networks on TV was all. Then you had to appeal to the most people possible because there was only 3 stations. Yeah. Nowadays, when there's like there's a streaming service that's just about horror movies, for God's sake. Shudder. It's all it's for is horror movies. Like when you can be that specialized, there's going to be a place for the Dark Tower to fall, just like Dune. You know, now it is strange that Dune's an actual movie because you do have to be a little bit more broad and appeal to a lot of people. But they did their thing and they were successful. They're doing another. So
well, it's you see it with. I mean, we've talked about it a couple times in this one. Midnight Mass is not for everyone. That's not going to be. I mean, me and you adore it because we love that style of horror and stuff like that. But it's not going to be for everyone. And Mike Flanagan doesn't have to try to appeal to everyone. By doing a Hollywood release. Yeah,
because Netflix is
Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. And let's also just take this point to take a little tangent and say that Mike Flanagan must be behind this Dark Tower series.
I wish. I can dream.
It must be Mike Flanagan because, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, Mike Flanagan walks on water, and you can fact check that because he does.
You really like Mike Flanagan, don't you?
I really try to keep things in perspective and not be too reactionary because it's easy to do. But I legitimately believe, I don't know if there's anyone doing horror as well as he's doing, man. Right in the last decade. And there's some good people doing horror, man. There's some great stuff out there. Yeah, I mean, there's some people out there. But dude, Mike Flanagan, dude, like I was just telling you were there at work recently. I was telling someone about Haunting a Hill House. I'm like, I legitimately think that may be the best horror thing made in the last 10 years or so.
So good.
Like it really is. And I mean, and that's not to shit on Bly Manor or Midnight Mass. Those aren't as good, but they're still fucking great shows, man. And he nails horror. And what I love about him is he understands Haunting a Hill House is the perfect example of that. The ghosts are not the central thing of that story. The central thing of that story is the family, their love, and their trauma. Mm-hmm. And that's what all Stephen King's about. It's never about
It's not about Pennywise.
No.
It's a coming-of-age story.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is it's a coming-of-age story. It's not focusing on Pennywise, this killer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. All right, so next up, we got the odds and ends. We got a couple Uncle Stevie recommends. So the first one, he has a tweet here. He says, Robert Goddard writes amazing novels of mystery and suspense, but he says, not available in America. Boo. Which that is kind of strange. His new one is magical, and the title is simply the best. This is the night they come for you. He says, how ominous is that? And then he gets a little smiley emoji there. So
emoji.
Thanks, Uncle Stevie, for an emoji there. And I will say, yes, that title is fucking great.
That is awesome.
Now, why that's not in America, that needs to get resolved very quickly.
I'm going to look that up.
Next, Uncle Stevie recommends City on Fire by Don Winslow. He says, this is a can't put it down crime fiction. If you've read it, you know. If you haven't, maybe go out and get it. So another recommend from King on books there, which is always fun. Next up, Hidden Pictures. Because we did a book club last time, so there was a lot of these built up because that always happens after a book club. Mm-hmm. Hidden Pictures by Jason, I don't know how you'd say that, Recklook. One-of-a-kind thriller in stores now. Buy it and save it for the weekend. You won't put it down. So another book there. And then the last one, Apple Plus, Shining Girls. This is exactly what streaming is made for. Scary and involving. Well acted and sumptuously made. It's a novel for the eyes and the mind. So, the thing is, I need to dive into Apple Plus more because, honestly, almost everything they're doing is getting good reviews, man.
I got a free trial to Apple Plus. I watched the 2 seasons of Ted Lasso.
Yeah, indeed.
I have a day off tomorrow.
Indeed. All right, so let's go ahead and jump on over to the Palaver section, which that would be. Let's go ahead and change the cameras here. Go ahead and I think that works, or maybe not.
Yeah, it popped over. It took a second. It's there.
Okay. There we go. It changed.
Yeah.
The titles thing I was worried about. So we're gonna talk for the Palaver section our fire starter reactions.
We are going to give the big warning. Firestarter 2022 movie spoilers are incoming.
Yes.
We are talking full on the full movie. If you have not seen it and you're watching this video or you're here live, you may want to cry off for the rest of this show.
Yeah. We do have an email set that we have to do as well.
Can we jump to the email first and then finish with the spoiler?
Emails. It's the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us.
That's not getting deleted, right?
God damn it.
Oh, that's good call. Let's throw it out of order here. I should have thought about that.
No, it's just if we're gonna do spoilers, let's finish with that.
Yeah. So Joshua from Florida, which is with us in the chat here. Welcome, Josh. I don't know if you go by Josh or Joshua. I know I've been saying Josh, but
he said Josh earlier, so go by Josh.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I guess I don't know because my name never gets shortened. What are you gonna call me, Ta? But
hey, T.
I know there's some people.
I'm gonna start calling you T from now on. Can I call you Dr. T? Mr. T's taken.
Yeah, I pity the fool.
Pity
Okay, so let's see. First of all, in the chat here, Mike said agreed. Peter rolling by himself for too long is bad TV. And then Josh says Dune is my second favorite franchise. I read it prior to Dark Tower. Dark Tower is my first Stephen King book. That is an interesting first Stephen King book.
Josh, have you ever done our new listeners email? I don't remember it.
He's emailed us before, so he gets into it in the email here. So
okay.
Says incoming wall or first Heil Podslingers.
Heil.
Says incoming wall of text. He says I have years to make up for. He says I'm not sure if you remember me, but this is Josh, formerly from Louisiana and then Colorado and now Florida. So going forward, Joshua from Florida says I've been listening to other non-King podcasts and audiobooks for a few years, and I just jumped back into Dark Tower Palaver. So you know what? And there's. I hope this doesn't get taken the wrong way, but it doesn't feel like it's been that long because I think he mentions it in the next little bit that it was 2018. It doesn't feel like he's been because I think it's just one of those things how time has been so weird for us. When I first saw your email come in, Josh, I was like, oh man, yeah, cool, yeah, Josh, I remember I've seen emails from him before, and then as I started reading it, I'm like, wait. He hasn't emailed in years, but then I started to think about it because it's one of those things. How many times have I said, "Oh yeah, we've been doing YouTube for a year now," and then when you look, it's no, we've been doing it for 4 years.
Yeah.
It's one
we
of the.
Literally had that just a few months ago.
It's one of those things. So, Josh, I'm not saying this is don't take this as a bad way, but it really doesn't. It's just one of those things. Time is so fucking funny, man, and it doesn't feel like it's been that long. But then once he actually gets into what he talked about in this last email, it makes more sense. Yeah, it has been a while. But God, it's so weird with time, man. And then not to mention 2020 and 2021 have been a hell of a thing anyway, and it's fucked up our whole perspective of what time feels like. But the podcast in general, because I think even recently I looked up what was our first time that we live streamed.
Yeah.
And when I realized how low the number was for Roundtable, I was like, holy fuck, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We've been doing it that long. It's still if I wasn't thinking about this openly right now and you were just to ask me how long we've been doing YouTube, I'd probably say 2 years, but it's probably closer to 4 or more. I don't know. So
I think I actually remember Josh's first email.
Yeah.
Because he says, also, I'm 99.5% sure I started Podslingers with you guys. Please review every email and let me know.
Oh, okay. And in the chat,
I think Josh from Louisiana sounds very familiar for being the one that invented that slang, the Podslingers.
Could have been. Yeah, we'll have to definitely look.
Sounds familiar, dude.
Yeah, but time, man, time's weird.
Oh no, you're not wrong. We literally had this conversation. What was it, a month or two ago, where it's like, you dropped it on me. You're like, when we started YouTube? I'm like, yeah, it was like a year or two ago. You're like, dude, it's been 4. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird how time works with this stuff.
Yeah.
He says my last email back in 2018,
4 years ago.
he says was saying that my 13-year-old sister watched it, and I asked for King Booker recommendations for her. He says, funnily enough, I was exercising the other day, and y'all happened to read that email while I was jumping rope. I revisited the subject with my sister, who is now 17, and gave her the list to choose from. The list was Firestarter, The Long Walk, Salem's Lot, and Carrie, which is funny and serendipitous because we've just been having this conversation over the last number of episodes because my niece
is doing the same thing.
Well, no, not necessarily. She didn't ask for
you
it.
Challenged her.
Yeah,
That's
I challenged her and also bribed her, and ended up getting a couple books for her. Unfortunately, Firestarter was sold out everywhere in like the freaking Salt Lake Valley, so couldn't do that one. But yeah, Carrie was one of the 2 I gave her though. So it's funny that even 4 years ago, the list was slightly similar. I didn't think about The Long Walk. I did think about that one. Salem's Lot, I didn't. I'm surprised we came up with that one. Not a bad one for kids, but
scary.
And exactly. I did try to go a little bit away from scary a little bit for my niece, but depends on what they're into.
That's why Carrie's the good one. It's not that scary, really.
No. And then he goes on and says, I gave her a short description of each, and sure enough, I will be purchasing Firestarter for her. He says, thank you all so much for the input. I'm only 4 years late to the party.
This is fitting with what we're going to cover after this.
Yeah, exactly. Firestarter. He says, I've been feeling the pull for the tower lately, so my reread will be coming shortly. I have finished The Green Mile, which I have never read or watched. And as I near the end, I find myself putting off the finish of the book because I don't want it to be over. And that's not
We've all done that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and that one, you kind of know where it's going to go, right? You're on death row, so there's only one way this story's going to end, and you're not necessarily looking forward to it.
No.
Kind of like when you know that the bomb's going to blow up Randall Flagg. You get so sad, and you start to slow down.
I can't wait for that. I sit in my car and I listen to that and I just smile.
Oh, man. Not me. I just pause it and put it on delay for a week or so because I'm just like, I don't want to see my poor Randy get hurt. He says, once I begin to my reread, I'll cross paths with the place in the book club at some point, which I look forward to. Luckily, the book club's been going for 6 years, so I have plenty of time, and then gives a laughing emoji, which is true. We're very slow. Although we're picking up speed now, though. I really do think that we've done, in the last couple of years, we've done more. It's probably, maybe the last year or so. I can't remember when we made kind of our behind-the-scenes pledge to try to be a little bit more deliberate with our pacing. But since we've been doing that, we've been chugging right along. So he says, it looks like y'all are somewhere in the wastelands as of right now, which is true. We're kind of in the middle of the Palaver that will take a while, where the quartet is getting everyone
finished.
Did we finish that conversation?
Yeah, Roland's like, okay, time for bed.
But isn't there more after? Like a little, not a lot, but there's...
I don't think so until we get to the other side of blood.
I thought they conversated a little bit more, but yeah, it's been a minute. And he says, lots of things have happened in my life since I last emailed. I'm married now. Congratulations.
Hey, awesome.
I have a beautiful stepson, a 2-year-old, and a girl on the way. We moved from Louisiana to Colorado to Florida, bought a house and got a new job. Busy life. Adulting is hard.
That's great.
Yes. And yes, adulting is hard. Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations on all that. He says, I want to touch base with a few non-Dark Tower things I've heard while listening. He says Tad, and then in parentheses, Thad. Nope, just Tad. No. Generally, Tad can be short for Thaddeus, so some people will also go by Thad, but no, that is not me. I am just strictly Tad.
T is for Tad.
Yep, that is just T, no H for me. Although I do know that that's traditionally where the name Tad derives from. I'm an avid sequel hater. I loved Rogue One and Solo, but man, I loathe the sequels. TFA was an okay reboot, but it clearly was relying on further movies to make something of itself. The Last Jedi was just random to me. If I hear the phrase Master Codebreaker one more time, I might jump off a cliff. Plus, they killed off my boy Luke. And do not get me started on the Leia Superman scene. I have no problem with that scene, man. The reveal of Leia's force powers, I know people don't like it, but...
it gets revealed earlier in the movie.
Not massive
Dude,
Jedi powers.
She's training to be a Jedi. What do you think she's doing that
when?
with?
Not in...
Yes, in Last Jedi.
No.
Yes.
You don't see that until the third movie. Her training.
No, she tells someone about it. I think she tells Poe about it.
No.
Am I mixing that up?
Yeah.
I need to rewatch
Yeah,
the sequels.
the third movie is the one where they have the de-aged and show them training and stuff.
Is it really the third?
Yeah,
one?
her going back into the ship was the first real big reveal for Force powers. I mean, you can argue, in Empire and stuff, she hears Luke and all that, but like,
That's Luke using his powers, and she just hears it.
yeah, that's the first full-on reveal that, like, okay, she's not just, happens to be a sister of a Jedi. There's something else going on here.
I trust you, Josh. I trust you too, Tad.
And he says, Rise of Skywalker was just a bad movie. My wife doesn't care for Star Wars and agrees that it was just an ill-written film that just jumped from plot point to plot point with very little thought on how each connected. And then somehow Palpatine returned, and he did it with the uppercase and lowercase letters, which, let's admit, that is one of the worst lines ever written, man. Just... That's like, I know as much as people shit on like the nuking of the fridge in Indiana Jones, like that's the way I feel about that line. Like it's just so like, hey audience, don't pay attention here. We don't really want to explain this.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And for me, my biggest issue with it was like, then Anakin's sacrifice doesn't mean anything when Palpatine just appears back. Like, I don't know. He says, my one positive thing to say is the actors were not bad. They did the best with what they had, which I agree. I'm not overly fond of J.J. Abrams' 2 movies as much as time's gone by. The Force Awakens, it's grown out of, because ultimately it's just the same for me. And like that's what I always loved about Lucas is he never sold us the same movie twice. He always gave us something different, and that's just not what The Force Awakens was. But I will say I do love all the actors. I wish all of them would have been given more. The sequel actors, because I think they're all great actors, and time's going by now. We're starting to see some of them in other things, and they're all doing great. And I wish they would have had.
I love Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, he's great.
I adore Oscar Isaac. I do.
Yeah, he's great. The other two haven't had as much yet, but I think that there's stuff they've been working on. So I'm interested because I do think all of them did a really great job. I just don't think it's kind of like the modern Superman. What's his name?
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry Cavill. Like I
Cavill.
love the guy. I think he does. Like when he's been given an opportunity to actually be Superman, I think he's done a good job. But I think he's been given nothing but shit roles to actually play. And I think a lot of the hate that he gets is more about the situations and writing that he's been given, more so than his actual performances. But like I know everyone shits on the original Justice League, not the stupid re-fucking cut 9-hour version.
But Snyder cut?
Not the non-Snyder cut, but like the whole thing when the kids are talking about being on their podcast and he's just chatting with them. That to me is one of the best scenes that Henry Cavill's done.
That is Superman.
That's Superman. And like, so like when I saw that, I remember in 2017 or whatever it was when that Justice League movie came out, I remember just thinking like, finally I'm seeing Henry Cavill actually play Superman. So I think the sequel guys are kind of like that. They guys and gals, they just haven't been given the same opportunities because of writing. He says, Tad, and he says, I'm now committed to the spelling. And you got it right, except you missed a D there. Mine is with 2 Ds, which isn't as common.
Yeah.
Usually it's just TAD for most people, but I have 2 Ds. He says, and Peter, and he says, please read A Song of Ice and Fire series. He says, I've accepted that we may never get the winds of winter. If we do, we're absolutely not getting a dream of spring. But don't hold yourself back from reading this masterpiece. The show is nothing compared to the books. It breaks down the traditional fantasy novel tropes and makes them real and relatable, and a ton of badass fights. I just have a hard time because it's never going to end. Like it's, I don't know if I want to. Like even Dark Tower, man.
Yeah.
Like if time had been different, and
if
like
King had died with that accident, I don't know if we'd be here today.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I ever would have jumped into him because it's just like. There's a lot of shows like that, right? That you dive into, you're a fan of, and then they get canceled, and you just never get anything.
You get 3 seasons of Hannibal, and then it gets canceled. I know how sore of a spot that is for you, Tad. I'm sorry. I deserve it. Go ahead.
Or Daredevil that doesn't get the 4th season that we've been hyped to fucking
It's
about.
getting a 4th season.
No, it's not. It's not going to be. They're not going to make for Disney Plus. They're going to be doing a Daredevil show. It's not going to be anything like the Netflix stuff because it's made for Disney. Cool, they'll put the old stuff on there, but do you think that Disney's actually going to manufacture an R-rated Daredevil show?
Why wouldn't they? They're making an R-rated Deadpool movie.
They won't.
They are making an R-rated Deadpool movie. Why wouldn't they do Daredevil?
Watch.
The most fan favorite, like non-MCU character now. Why would they not?
I'll bet you a Dr. Pepper that it's.
I'll bet you dinner. Should we make it? Let's make a bet live right now on our show,
man.
That Daredevil season 4 is just like all the others.
It'll be like Moon Knight, because Moon Knight's also one that's been pretty extreme and stuff, and that show wasn't at all. It was PG at best, so
it had some gratuitous violence in it.
a little bit. I think that was a little bone they threw, but I think it'll be more in vain of that. It won't be anything like the
All right.
original 3 seasons. That's my guess. And I don't know. I'm not saying.
Am I going to be the judge of this, or are you going to be the judge of this? Because your judgment on what's gore and what's not is skewed way one way.
Just the ratings. Or do they even rate streaming
You don't
shows?
rate streaming show. Well, they give a warning at the beginning, don't they?
Yeah, that's all they do.
Like TV.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, because like Ted Lasso is just straight for streaming, and it just says like language,
Violence,
sexual content, violence.
Yeah, exactly.
And everything.
So I don't know. But yeah, I don't think it'll be anything like the original 3.
Interesting.
Yeah, Josh, and I've definitely heard. I know from the reputation that A Song of Ice and Fire is good. But the other thing for me is that's kind of hard is I'm not a fantasy fan. I've never been able to read Dune. I've tried multiple times. I'm going to try it one more time now that I've watched and loved the new movie. I grew up watching the movie, the original one, Patrick Stewart. But I've never been able to get through Dune. Fantasy is not my thing, generally speaking. Outside of The Dark Tower, which I guess you can count as kind of fantasy, the only other thing I've really read is Lord of the Rings that I've been able to actually do. Beyond that, I've just never been able to. It's just not my genre, really. So I don't know.
It's not your cup of tea?
No. But I mean, I don't know. There's been some stuff recently that maybe the next Game of Thrones book will actually be coming out, but we'll see.
I mean, the biggest problem for me is that I just don't want to start something if it's never going to have a finish. That hurts.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. It hurts when I walk into it unknowingly. So to walk into it pretty much knowingly, like that's hard.
To walk into it willingly.
Yeah, it's like break my heart. It's like reading a Stephen King book.
Please hobble my foot again.
Let me go ahead and pull it up.
No.
I should save that slide and just have it pop up randomly.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. He says, I find it interesting that most of my favorite series have problematic endings. The Dark Tower is rushed due to King's near-death experience. Song of Ice and Fires will most likely never finish, and the sequels tainted the end of the Skywalker saga for me. Which, yeah, that is interesting. I mean, problem is endings are just hard in general.
Everyone shits on King for it, but it's not that easy.
No, endings are really hard, man. I mean, The Sopranos is one of the greatest shows of all time. A lot of people hate that ending. I think that ending's fucking brilliant, personally.
Yeah, it's funny.
But it's but Breaking Bad, like people watch the Breaking Bad and they like reveled in how perfect that ending was. And I think that's the one that really resonates with me, where it's like the reason everyone was on that so much about that being perfect is because it's so rare. How often does a great series just not end well? Lost didn't end well.
Even the Harry Potter series, the movies, and even the books have it where the fans are divided on the ending.
Yeah.
Like, there's some things in the ending. I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, because you're still going to read it. And I swear, Harry Potter is done, Tad. Go read the 7 Harry Potter books, for God's sake.
My rule now is I watch and then read.
Go watch the 8 Harry Potter movies, for God's sakes. It's done. You don't have to watch the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Watch the Harry Potter movies, please, for the love of God, Tad. What do I got to do to get you to do it? What do I need to watch? I've watched so much for you.
Yeah, it's true.
Come on.
You and my barber keeps giving me shit about it too.
Is that why she cut you? Tad showed up the other day and he had a cut in his chin.
No, we recorded that.
Oh, we recorded it. Yeah, you can go back and see it. It's right here on his left cheek.
I can't remember, was that not last episode, but the episode before?
Yeah.
And it was on the side that when I'm looking at you, it actually is exposed to the camera.
It's pretty prominent. Yeah, apparently she cut him because she hasn't watched Harry Potter.
Slice me with a straight razor.
So if she says to him, hey, how do you feel about Dobby? He's going to be like, what the fuck is a Dobby?
No, I think I know. That's that little like creature goblin thing.
What's it called? Right? What's his species called?
Isn't that not Dobby?
No, that's his name.
Oh,
that's his.
Well, no,
name.
I remember because there was that MTV Movie Awards. Remember when they used to have those little things?
Yeah.
And they had a Gollum on there screaming and yelling and swearing at people, and he was like saying, "Fuck Dobby" or something like that. So I do know that because of
you
that.
You don't know what species it is.
Oh God, no.
See,
he's not an
Tad,
imp or a goblin or something.
No, he's not. You need to fix this, Tad. Fix this. I'm shaming you now, but fix it.
Oh, I get shamed every week when I get a haircut.
Hey, Do better.
And then he finishes off. He says, I look forward to listening to any discussions on these subjects. Hopefully I won't be as long between emails. This email and my next. Long days and pleasant nights, Joshua from Florida. And
Thanks,
I guess you didn't really chime in too much on the Star Wars stuff. You enjoyed the sequels a little bit more than I did.
I did, but you know what I'm finding is that I do not have the pull to go watch them as much.
That's the thing for me is time is actually making them. I mean, and I'm kind of a fanboy for Rian Johnson, but I love The Last Jedi. I think that's the only one that I watched that actually felt in the Disney era where I'm like, this kind of feels like, because it felt like it was completely different than everything else.
Yeah.
It's like, and it just felt like something that Lucas would do. I mean, I don't know. Lucas's stuff wasn't beloved. There's half the people freaking hate the Last Jedi, but other people fucking adore it. And I think it's also just the most beautifully shot too. Just when you look at how that movie looks, it's just beautiful. I do enjoy Rogue One. It's a little bit too dark for my taste. Like in the scale of darkness, I don't think Star Wars should be that intense. It's supposed to be a fairy tale for children. Solo, I enjoyed as much as I'm not a Han Solo fan, but yeah, I don't know. What about you? You enjoyed Rogue One. You still
I adored the hell out of Rogue One. I've actually watched Rogue One more than any of the others.
yeah. That's
Solo was okay. I mean, you can't go wrong with Chewbacca. I mean, he's my absolute
especially when you
favorite.
find him in chains at the beginning.
That was
That's
the
my
worst. I love where he just beat the shit out of Solo, though.
Oh, so yeah, thank you, Josh, for your email. Excuse me. Thank you for your email. Definitely appreciate it. But yeah, now we'll go ahead and transition back
Now we're going to go back to the spoilers, all right?
to the Palaver section. Go ahead and change that screen back over. But yeah, thank you, Josh, for the email, and thanks for joining us in the chat as well.
Yes.
It's always good to have emails and to catch up. And the book recommendation, I kind of lost sight that we never heard follow up on that. So
Yeah.
because it's just, again, it's one of those things like you're like, oh yeah, cool, they'll get back to us and they let us know, and then as time goes and he doesn't get back to us, it's like you forget, because I don't know.
It's true.
Especially me, I'm a goldfish. I forget after I get to one side of the bowl to the other.
I'm still surprised that you remember who I am.
What's your name again?
Shut up.
Come on, Trevor. Let's go and do this.
Trevor? Where the hell did that come from?
I don't know. Oh man! All right, so we're gonna go ahead and jump into Firestarter 2022. We did a YouTube exclusive video on this.
Right after we watched it.
Right
Came
after,
from the theater.
straight after. Now we've had a little bit of time to think about it. That one ran for 19 minutes. This one will probably go a little bit more in depth. And yes, so let's go ahead and dive in. Yeah, like Peter mentioned before, this is spoiler. Will be spoiler centric for the Firestarter book. And then both
Mike says spoiler. She starts fires.
for both the book and both movies probably will get discussed. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. So first of all,
Kind of recap the little video that we did. How'd you feel about it coming out of the theater?
I mean, I thought it was better than the original. I think outside of Drew Barrymore, the original is entirely forgettable. That and the judo chop to the face, like that was
Which keeps getting referenced for some reason on our podcast.
because it was fucking the best part of the movie. Like, dude, have you ever seen someone judo chopped in the face to kill them?
Yes, I have.
To kill them?
Yes.
When?
Firestarter.
No, other than that, have you ever seen it? Because you'll see chops or like he'll knock someone out or whatever, but you've never seen someone fucking straight up ice a motherfucker by judo chopping their face. That was brilliant. That and Drew Barrymore. Outside of that, that movie is entirely fucking forgettable, and I think it's just a statue of missed opportunity because it could have been John Carpenter. But he was fired from the film after The Thing bombed, which is coming to theaters again because it's the 40th anniversary this year of The Thing.
Yeah, bombed, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
one of the most beloved horror movies of all time.
Now.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it's just the original is completely forgettable for me, and I do think it's not at all hard for them to have jumped. So I guess what I'm trying to say is saying it's better than the original. That's a low hurdle to clear, but they did clear it. I felt this is a better movie than the first one. Still probably not a great, still not the perfect adaptation, I guess. I think there's a lot that they like. If you like, yeah, I guess when it comes down to it's like the Stand, right? You talk about like an adaptation about like how does it achieve what the book did? And I just don't. I think there's some areas of this that it did good, but there's other areas of this where it didn't feel super book
Friendly.
Yeah, I guess I want to say respectful doesn't sound like the right word. Yeah, I guess like because ultimately I think if you're going to do the book, I think it has to be a mini series because you need more time. I think because the book is kind of a prolonged chase,
Lots of flashbacks.
so it's and there's flashbacks and stuff. But yeah, I don't think that you're ever going to get a movie, even if you did like a 3-hour It Chapter 2 movie. I don't think you're ever going to cover a Firestarter on in a film time period, even a 3-hour film, and cover the multitude or the scale of the book. So, but I guess I'm not saying that to say it's bad. It's just I think there was some stuff left on the table in my mind from the book, and you could speak to it more. It's one of your favorite.
It is one of
books.
my favorite Stephen King books. It's in my top 5, and again, I'm thoroughly disappointed. I'm left still wanting a true adaptation of Firestarter. I mean,
Yeah.
we had some good parts in this one, just like we had Drew Barrymore's performance in the first one. And you're right, there's a lot of wrong with the first one. But the thing with the first one that I got to give praise to it over the new one is, damn, they were a lot better off following the book than going off on their own. I'm trying to think. I can't think. Maybe you could be a little bit more objective than I can. I can't think of a single thing that they changed for this one that made me go, that was the other right choice.
I think the farmer stuff was really good. Having his wife in a coma, having her be able to communicate to, I thought that was a really cool thing, because otherwise I just feel like just having the two farmers, like it just feels very cliche. And also there was a moment when she finds the wife that I was just like, dude, is this gonna like take a turn that those farmers like fucking keeping this lady prisoner, his wife, in some like horrible circuit? Like, I don't know. There was just like it didn't plan out that way.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like
It made you start down a dark road, but you quickly realized you went the wrong way and turned around.
Yeah, but that I almost appreciate, because it makes you wonder, because it's like, cool, they're going off the beaten path a little bit. What the fuck are they doing? And then when it's not, but I think the whole idea of like the forgiveness being given to the husband and stuff, I just thought it was kind of I almost think that gave a little bit more to the farmer than what we got in the book. In the book, you know, he makes a stand, does the right thing, but ultimately farm gets torched. Like, not a lot is there good for him. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't know what his life's going to be like, you know.
Well, you see him at the end of the book. He's doing just fine with his wife and everything like that. And that's where for me, like, I get where you're coming from with that. But for me, that's where they made the decision to go the different way with the ending, which to me is absolutely asinine. I can't get behind the ending. I'm the more I think about it, the more I get mad about it.
Okay.
I cannot understand a little girl being okay going with a man who murdered her mother. I can't.
Yeah.
Tortured and murdered her mother. I can't get behind that.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting choice. I don't know. I think I'm kind of indifferent to it. I don't really hate it, but I don't really love it. I do think it's being done to set the stages for more movies. Was their intention. It's not going to happen. I don't really want to get into financials too much, because like honestly, I'm kind of at a point where I don't really care anymore, because like art's art. It shouldn't, like, we as fans shouldn't be like fucking nitpicking over box office too much. But one thing I did see tweet wise that was just like, oh man, the original, not adjusting for inflation, just straight fucking numbers, made more than the new one did.
Yeah.
So that's rough, man.
Yeah.
1984 to today, like if you said adjusting for inflation, I'd be, oh, that's no big deal. That's just whatever. But the fact that not adjusting for inflation, it still made more money in 1984
than a 2022 movie.
That's
but
rough.
Part of that.
So it's not.
Devil's advocate is
more's not coming. Is all I'm saying. I'm only saying that to say that there is going to be more. But I do think their intention was to do a set of Firestarter films, and that what we had there. And I will say that's not to say that excuses it, because I will say I'm a little bit tired of this idea that like people always have to be building franchises and stuff and not just make one good fucking movie.
Standalone movie.
Like that's what George Lucas did, right? He wanted to do a trilogy, but he didn't know if he'd ever get another shot, so he made a movie that people could watch beginning to end, and that could have been it.
You could show people A New Hope and never show them anything else from the Star Wars universe,
And they'll be fine.
It'd be a fine movie.
Yeah.
It'd
But
be a hell of a movie.
nowadays, I feel like everyone is just trying to build cinematic universes. They're trying to build series. They're trying to build trilogies. They're trying to build all that stuff. And
I mean, I get it. You make more money doing that.
No, because to the detriment of the solo movie, to where then your movie underperforms or does shitty or whatever, because it's kind of not hollow, but it's a lesser film because you wasted a bunch of time trying to set up other shit, rather than just focusing on a singular good movie. Like, I don't know how you would have done it in this case. If your idea was that you're going to start off then
do
with
what's in the damn book. You want to make it so that there's more. Do what's in the damn book, where she goes back to the farm and then she has to figure out what her next step is. Firestarter 2 opens up with her at the farm, going back on the run or doing something else. Figure it out from there. But don't conclude it with her going to the Rolling Stones, the book, or leaving with Rainbird, the movie. Both of those endings would have been are close-ended to me.
yeah.
So her leaving with Rainbird is, what the hell? What do you mean you're setting up for other movies? To what? To do what?
Yeah.
To have her manipulated by the guy who murdered her fucking mother?
Which makes me wonder is if that's the idea is that they would then play up the whole manipulation angle for the next movie. That not necessarily that she's going to end up with the funny thing is this actually echoes like the whole Silence or the Hannibal book, because the end of the Hannibal book, like Clarice runs off with Hannibal Lecter, and it's like, okay, Thomas Harris, you created these characters, but you're a fucking idiot, man. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Weird.
That doesn't make any goddamn sense.
That was weird.
But I wonder if maybe that's where they were looking at it, though, is it like then the next second movie would kind of be would basically be looking at that whole manipulation angle. And then I don't know if they wanted to do a trilogy and it was then going to be payoff with her icing him at the end of that movie. And then God knows what, who knows? Maybe it's then going after the shop. But again, I usually give people credit for like what maybe they're attempting, but I can't in this case because I don't know what they would have done.
I don't think there's any good that could have come out of that.
I can only guess what more movies would have been, and I just don't know if they can get credit for that because they
did such a bad job on this one.
You got to take care of what you've got in front of you.
Yes.
And you got to just make a good fucking movie.
Stop worrying about building the second level of a house. Build a damn solid foundation first.
Exactly.
That's what it comes down to. There's no solid foundation in this movie. Charlie is a sociopath with fire starting powers, pyrokinesis.
Yeah.
That's not Charlie. And that's I think that's finally what I finally realized. That's one of the things that really pissed me off about this book. That's not Charlie. The actress did a phenomenal job with the direction that she was given. That is absolutely nothing against her.
Yeah.
Ryan Kira Armstrong, that was a phenomenal job. Her, Zac Efron, and then Gloria Rubin as Captain Hollister, I think were my favorites. Michael Grayaz is not bad as Rainbird.
Yeah.
I
don't think they really gave him a whole lot.
I don't think it's I don't think it's the actor's fault if they didn't do a good job. The mom.
'Cause I think Rainbird did a good job. I just don't think they gave him enough to chew on.
Yeah.
Sidney
Lemon plays Mrs. McGee, and I'm with you. I don't think that they there's almost no character development. I mean, we go from Charlie being told by her dad to no, it's bad. One scene later, it's okay. Now control it, and it's like, okay, we need a little bit. Let's develop here a little bit. Let's have a conversation. She's not like 7 or 8 like she is in the book.
Yeah.
She's 11 or 12. Or in this one, she's in junior high. She's like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation with her like she's a young adult, not a baby. Fire bad, fire good.
Yeah.
We can be a little bit more complex than that with this.
Yeah.
This isn't just a straight up, and they kind of didn't make it almost a horror film. It was more of a thriller.
Yeah.
But it almost felt like they were cheapening out and trying to make a horror film and missed horribly.
Yeah, but that's the thing is I don't think Firestarter is a horror story.
It's not.
So
there's really, when you look at Firestarter the book in the whole, there's not a single horror scene in that book.
It's maybe a horror in terms of like the evil government people coming after and the shit they're doing to people.
Is that really considered horror? I mean, that's not exactly horror. I mean, that's like Clear Present Danger is not a horror story.
No, but I think you could see it in the way of a horror in terms of almost like because the evil government people are chasing them and the shit that they're going to do to them, it can kind of feel like not like a slasher in terms of slasher, but that the killer's on the pursuit pursuit of them and stuff. And it is kind of faceless. You know, you don't really get a whole lot about what the shop is, so it can kind of feel very. So it's a stretch, but yeah, I don't know. It definitely horrors definitely doesn't fit Firestarter, and I think that's always the danger when it comes to Stephen King stuff when they don't know what genre they should be making a movie, and I think this falls into that.
This is very, very reminiscent of a couple other movies me and my wife have had over the years that stick out to us, where it's like, pick a genre, pick one and stick to it. Like,
yeah,
I don't like a movie that starts off as a horror, then goes to a comedy for a half hour, and then jumps back to horror, and then becomes a drama at the end. Like, you can have dramatic elements in horror, that's fine, but don't make me think that I'm watching, Godfather here at the end of it by having, like this whole dramatic scene with no horror elements, no comedy elements whatsoever. It's just dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, Knives Out balances that edge perfectly well. Ryan Johnson, I know you're a fan. Where it is comedy throughout.
Yeah.
But it is a mystery.
Yeah.
It's a mystery comedy.
Yeah.
And it does a well job of identifying itself and sticking to its identity.
Yeah.
Firestarter doesn't do that. It doesn't. It starts off with, oh no, we got this drug test and shit's going wrong, and oh my god, there's an eye, and the classic, there's an eye. There's always an eye, right? Recently. And then all of a sudden we're into a drama, a thriller, a little bit of horror elements. I mean, God's sake, she burns a damn cat.
Yeah.
That's dark.
Special effects wise, that was pretty fucking great, man.
The special effects in the movie, the CGI in the movie were on point. The actors' performances were great. I loved Rainbird's performance. The more I'm thinking about it in my head right now, just kind of mulling it over, he didn't do a bad performance. I just did not like the choices they made for the
But imagine if they had given him the whole idea of wanting to see the life go out of people.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
how much better of a character would he have been if he was given that opportunity? Mm-hmm. And again,
they took that away from him.
Yeah.
They took he
becomes a prisoner.
They took the well, they also gave him, they gave him the ability to read minds. Like, they made him one of the test subjects and everything like that. No. Why would they ever let him go? Study that motherfucker. That's what the shop is, Put him in a room, test on him until he's done and spent, then put a bullet in the back of his head and go bury his body in the Las Vegas desert. That's what the shop is. I don't like the fact that they made him we let him go. We just the shop cut ties with someone and lets them go?
Yeah.
No.
And someone that they were using as like a hitman and stuff too.
No. I'm sorry. We saw with like Billy Summers, right? It's his last job? Oh, he thinks he's going to walk away? You think you're going to walk away from this life? Son.
Yeah, exactly. No, overall, I mean, I didn't like. I will say I'm kind of disappointed they were trying to reach for sequels, seemingly. But in terms of like taking swings and making choices, you're more of a fan of this book, so I think you're going to be more like against it. But like, I'm okay with it. Like taking chances at times. You know what I mean? Take swings, man. It's going to be sometimes. Sometimes a direct adaptation is not going to be what you need to do, so try to do some fucking weird ass shit. And I remember in our video I mentioned, like, I kind of like the idea of the whole like Rainbird thing because it is so fucking like what the fuck, because it is just like it's kind of like The Mist in that way of just like completely change and subvert what King did. Mm-hmm. And I don't think this is anywhere near as successful as The Mist, but I think it was at least like. I was just like, oh, well, they fucking went for something there, and I didn't know at the time that they were actually potentially looking at wanting to do some sequels and stuff. Once I thought of that, I'm like, okay, then it's a little bit less like, because for me, I was just more like, oh, they really took a fucking swing at the fences and then left us with kind of an ambiguous ending. And like, I was kind of okay with, and I still kind of am okay with that. But then when I hear that like they were maybe looking at doing a trilogy and then I'm more like, like that kind of kills it a little bit for me because it's like, I don't know, because I'm not going to get it, right? Because I'm not going to get that sequel. I'm not going to get any more. So it's like literally the movie I'm going to have forever is the judo chop to the face or this, and it ends that way. So it's just like ultimately, I'm never going to be able to fully capture what Stephen King gave me in Firestarter on screen. I'm going to get tastes, in different.
There's little bits in each one.
This reminds me of like being like a freaking slasher fan, man, with Michael Myers. Like every time every Michael Myers movie comes out, Halloween movie, I'm gonna go because I'm a freaking super fan. But I never know what I'm going to get. And over the years, I've been kicked. I've been let down. I've been,
spit on.
but like what? But like, and this kind of feels that way to me, where it's just like, cool. I'm a Firestarter fan. I read the book. I've read the book now and stuff. But like, watching the two is in pretty close proximity too.
Yeah.
It just kind of like made me think about where I'm like, kind of feels like being a slasher fan. Like
Yeah.
you just never know what you're gonna get, man. Like sometimes they're just gonna be like. You're going to walk out going, what the fuck? Other times you're going to be like, oh, I don't know. That's just kind of a weird thought that I had, but I didn't overly hate it. I do think it was better than the original, but I don't think either of them hold a candle to the book.
The book is so good.
Yeah.
And again, it's not coming down to like I don't want them to be like, here's what was said on page 1. Okay, this has to be the first scene. Here's what was said on page 5. This is what the second scene is.
Yeah, don't be dogmatic about it.
I don't need you to be that, and that's what the first movie suffers from a little bit. Is they took 0 chances.
Yeah.
Except for the karate chop
to the face. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it was very uninspired. They were just like, okay, there's a scene, and there's no emotion to it. It just feels very paint by the numbers. And this one didn't fall into that.
I think they went too far the other way.
It was maybe an overcorrection, but at the same time though, like if it came down to like, hey, I've got to watch one of the 2 Firestarter movies, I'm gonna watch the newer one, man.
I'll take the original.
Really? Yeah, not me, man.
I'll take the bad. I'll take the bad choice of George C. Scott as a Native American.
I'll watch the karate chop to the face on YouTube and then go watch the new movie. For me, but I don't know.
I'm sorry. I cannot suspend my disbelief. That's my problem. Is that what little girl is going to go with her mother's murderer? I'm sorry. There's an element there that's just like, how can you justify that?
Yeah, and
if they had done the original Rainbird, where he's not the one that killed her.
Yeah,
the 2 agents that kidnapped Charlie are the
Yeah.
ones who did in her mother and tortured her, ripping fingernails off in the book and everything like that. And Charlie's and Rainbird's the one who tranked her and her dad and brought them to the shop.
Yeah.
If that was the case, fine. I'd be 100% behind this ending. Fucking fantastic ending. Rainbow realizes how wrong it is for Charlie to be locked up and to be a guinea pig and shit like that. Fine. I get that. Rainbird murdered her mother and she knows it. He admitted it. He took pleasure in it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. How? In what universe does a little girl, you want to know how that is? You fuck up Charlie so bad. Charlie's not Charlie then. And that's where I can't forgive that decision.
I think devil's advocate, I would say, is that what choice does she really have overall? Like, where is she going to go at this point? You know what I mean? She's kind of rudderless. Like, so maybe it's kind of a thing where it's like she's not like giving in to him, but maybe
He
she's
should
just
have never made it outside the fucking complex. I'm sorry, if she's going to burn people all the way up, the woman who offered to help her was a better choice for her to go with than fucking Rainbird. I mean, realistically, the liar thing really bothered me, that she murders that woman and turns her to a pile of ash, but Rainbird walks free.
Yeah. Mike said corporate long-term goals usually ruin current products. But then Mike makes a good point here. Says, Peter, people who are abused, hurt, and really, really hurt have a long history of going with people who hurt them.
No, you're not wrong, Mike.
And he says it's a sad statement of humanity, which, yeah, it's
true. But
I mean, that's like the Bev, right?
But a lot
Bev
of times,
from It's kind of thing.
But again, that's someone who she knows and loves. That's her father. That's a loving relationship.
No, but afterwards it becomes the men that she chooses to.
It's true.
Go with
but
the
she
beater.
also likes them. You know, it's her husband doesn't hit her on their first date. Her husband hits her later. It's after she's developed a bond with them. If they had done the bond with Rainbird, I'm fully on board with this decision. I just said that. But the fact that all we get from Charlie and Rainbird is, I murdered your mother. Ha ha ha. I'm holding a knife to your throat. Ha ha ha. Oh, wait, never mind. Here, go free and let me mentor you. No. Roast that motherfucker.
You know, one thing I wonder too is, I can't help but think, it's kind of like the Dark Tower. How much do you think the director was involved with the final cut?
It's very likely that it was.
You know, were there other scenes? Were there scenes that maybe Charlie had some revelation to what Rainbird had been through? to then add to that choice where it's
Maybe.
like he is not a lot different than me. Yeah, he's made some bad choices, but so have I. I torched a cat. I've hurt people. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing is like she could easily, with a couple scenes, and it wouldn't even have to be that long, add another 4 minutes to the movie. You could easily make it to where I think I don't think you would be as repulsed by the ending.
And that's what I'm saying is that it
makes me wonder, did the studios like say, you got a 90-minute movie, but you just turned in like a 120-minute movie? We're fucking chopping this fucker down.
We are, not you.
Yeah, because it's happened all the time. We know it happened with Dark Tower.
We know it.
We haven't been really given the details on it, but the fact that there's some silence involved, I think that there was some, and it happens all the time, right? The Suicide Squad guy has been talking because Snyder got his cut. He's like, I want to do my, be able to show my version of Suicide Squad. So it happens all the time. It's part of the business, unfortunately.
That was
but it does make
James Gunn, wasn't it?
No, not the new one, the old one, the first
original
one.
Suicide
That
Squad.
guy's been saying that they butchered his movie basically,
Oh.
and so but I just wonder if there was some stuff that the studio saw it
wouldn't
as
be
just
surprised.
It was the studio just saw as, oh, this is fucking stupid and it's pointless and it's just extra minutes, so let's just chop it, and then it leads us to this spot where it's like, this doesn't make any sense, But
I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm saying I'm not arguing that you guys are wrong, Mike. You're not wrong.
No, yeah,
Todd, you're not wrong.
No, I know.
But
We're
I
just
think
discussing
that-
here.
I
There's no
think
right
that-
or wrong.
I think that they gave us nothing for a logical explanation for why she would go with Rainbird.
Yeah,
You can't find a situation where someone who has zero connection with the person who murdered their parent, she never met Rainbird before in her life,
yeah.
to suddenly decide, literally the second scene with him. That's
Yeah.
the second time she sees Rainbird,
Well,
and she goes with him.
I think in a little ways we're running circles here. So let's go ahead and
Yeah.
talk about other stuff too, because we've only talked about this
Zac-
one element here.
Zac
really.
Efron was amazing.
I think Zach did a good. I think he's killing it across the board.
His Bundy
I've been
movie
seeing
a
him
couple
on-
years ago was really good.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know what he was before. He was some kind of like child actor or
Disney Channel.
something where he was like kind of like DiCaprio in Titanic, right? Where like he's just like a cutesy kid type thing. It's not really, there's not a whole lot of legitimate acting in his earlier life, but I feel like he's been kind of like the kid from Harry Potter's done the same thing, and freaking the kid from Twilight that's now Batman. Like there's all these people that they kind of are now breaking it, cutting their teeth with like real acting, and I think he's been doing that. Where I've been impressed with some of his performances, Zac Efron, and I think he did a good job here. The girl playing Charlie did a killer job. There was some good acting.
Rainbird was not bad, and neither was Hollister.
Yeah.
None of them really did like a bad job or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think Mike says, agreed, Peter. All I can say is that she's a kid. What else can she do? And that's kind of what I was alluding to, too. What choice does she have at that moment? Like, is it a thing where it's just like, there's all this trauma, whatever, and like literally, like, you stay here on your own, and when the fucking reinforcements arrive, or you go with this dude and at least offers you an opportunity of a way out? Again, especially if there was going to be some kind of sequel, maybe we're putting some kind of like reconciliation into that ending that wasn't that wouldn't long term wouldn't have been there if the creators had been given their opportunities to make more movies potentially. But again, you can't ever fucking count on that stuff, man.
No,
you never know.
Mistake. That's a mistake to think that you're going to have that to start with.
Yeah, you never know. Like this is the golden age of King. There's some movies out of King that are doing fucking massive money, but it doesn't mean yours is going to. You got to be really cognizant of, this may be the only.
Yeah.
That's the thing that maybe like bothers me a little bit about the Dark Tower too. Is it's like you've got potentially one shot. You may never see another fucking movie. You may never see another series. This may be the only opportunity. So what do you fucking do? On screen. And I just don't know if Dark Tower. If I would have been happy if that were me putting that out there as the thing for people to potentially see or not see for Dark Tower. Like I would have gone fucking batshit in some way potentially. I don't know if the studio would go along with that, but I would have at least tried to, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing is that let's see, that's the kind of thing that I'm pointing out is that maybe they need to stop doing that shit because Glenn Mazzara tried to do something crazy from the source material, and what happened? Firestarter tried to do something way different than the source material, and it's really starting to bother me that it's like you don't have to make a shot for shot adaptation of the book, but pick your shot. Don't take 18 shots and try to make so many changes that you're changing the original content. take a shot. Yes, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But Stephen King is Stephen King, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Like, why is it so hard for people to understand that?
Well,
you're a director. Yes, I understand. You want to have the artistic, thing. But we were just talking about this, that it's asinine for them to be selfish.
but most of them don't understand King. Let's be honest.
I get it.
How many directors and filmmakers and writers have approached a King thing, and we as readers look at it and go, "Dude, did you even read the book?" And not necessarily that they miss things, but it's like with
point.
with Firestarter, right? Like the whole idea of Firestarter was never about a kid with pyrokinesis. It was about how everyone around her responded to that and how the government responded to that. And it's not about just a kid that has these fucking powers.
Right.
Like that's secondary. The Mist is not about the fucking monsters in the Mist. It's about
how the people react.
the monsters in the fucking store.
Yes.
Like it's like, and I just think how often people miss that. Of course, Frank did not miss that in the Mist.
No.
But how many King adaptations have we seen that they do miss that?
Yes.
They miss the fact that King is never usually writing about the actual monster.
11/22/63.
The monster is inconsequential. The monster is there, but is usually not much more than set dressing. It's all the other shit that King's writing that ends up making King's stuff so fucking masterful.
It is not a horror novel so much as it is a coming of age that happens to have horror elements with it.
Yeah. Christine is not how much about is it about the car, or how much is it about LeBay and getting into Arnie's fucking subconscious and
Trying to help his
taking
friend.
him over?
Yeah.
And Dennis trying to help him. Like,
Yeah,
that's
Dennis trying to help his friend. That's
That's
what I meant.
way more about it than the fucking car. Now, I will say Carpenter is Carpenter, and he did a good job with Christine, but
Well, see,
it wasn't the
but
same.
The thing is that Carpenter didn't fundamentally change the point of Christine.
No.
He didn't go in and... I mean, Cujo. Look at the adaptation of Cujo. Look at Children of the Corn. Look at Salem... Not Salem's Lot. But let's talk about The Shining.
Yeah.
The fundamental change of The Shining is what bothers Stephen King about The Shining.
Yeah.
Now, Kubrick...
The Haunted Mansion. The Haunted Mansion is still there. Like The Shining is still there.
Yeah.
But none of that mattered to King. To King, it was all about the fucking dad, and the what would you call it? The doubts and the fears of like the father and what he might do to his kid. Like because he accidentally broke his arm. So like there's all this like and also providing for his family. Like he's lost jobs and stuff. So it's like there's all that shit. That's the real stuff about The Shining.
It is.
And the rest of it was all just part of the rest of it that and it plays in.
It was the side dishes of the main course.
Yeah, it's not the turkey, it's the stuffing.
Exactly. And then the relationship with his wife was the mashed potatoes. And
Yeah.
then the haunting stuff was the pumpkin pie. Like there's so much to it and everything like that. My problem is that none of these directors seem to be able to identify what the fucking turkey is anymore.
Yeah.
It's Firestarter, like you said, Firestarter is not about a girl with pyrokinesis powers.
Yeah.
Carrie is not about a girl with telekinesis powers. It is
Yeah.
about fucking bullying.
Religious fanaticism.
Religious abuse from a parental abuse,
parent,
child
yeah.
abuse.
Yeah.
That's the phrase I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's about child abuse, and it's about being bullied at school.
Yeah, and being marginalized as well
yeah.
across the board, right? She's not popular with anyone, and then when she's like offered a taste of that, it's all under false pretenses.
It
like,
is. She thinks it's under false pretenses
yeah.
because Tommy takes her to homecoming off of good intentions. He actually does.
That's true. Yeah,
There is no faults there. But what the other girl does is
Yeah.
what's vindictive and evil and
Yeah.
everything like that. 11/22/63 is a love story.
Yeah.
It needs to always be a love story. It needs
Yeah.
to be about him and his girl.
Yeah.
And everything that happens revolves around that.
and even
it is not the time travel.
and even falling in love with the time as well a little bit,
Yeah.
but also seeing the uglies of the time too. Like he sees some of the downside
The
of like,
racist,
racism and stuff.
yeah.
But there's also an element of like a person from the 20th century, 21st century, stepping back to a simpler time and like I don't know, and bad time. There's bad stuff too, like the book that they won't let kids read and stuff. But like, yeah, I ultimately that's the thing that I think a lot of filmmakers tend to miss. Is they usually miss the bigger points, man.
They do.
Like, I don't know. That's and they did it here, I think. Ultimately, in both versions, they've done it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not as big a fan of Firestarter, the book, as you are, but I did enjoy the book, and it's just it's still, I would say it's still untapped, kind of like the Stand for me. I would still love to see a version of the Stand that is true to the novel.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Mick Garris did a fine job it just feels like it's kind of dated and cheesy a little bit because it was
Yeah.
made for TV in the 90s. But the new one was just
Swing and a miss.
yeah, like there were some choices made that here and there that I enjoyed, but overall it was just like, man, what the hell happened? How did you have more time and it felt like you covered less?
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know. Yeah, it's not easy, man. I think that's the other thing we gotta give credit to is for all these ones that make it, like Dr. Sleep or It. We gotta give credit to them, man, because this is not fucking easy. And like for It especially, like you're talking pretty much the most iconic King work, and to be able
It's
to
one of the most iconic horror characters out there.
yeah,
If I showed you a picture of Pennywise and I showed you a picture of Leatherface, people are going to know Pennywise more.
yeah,
You know, it's the question of
your
is
average person,
Is
yeah.
is it more than Freddy, Michael, Jason? Is it up there? Like I bet you
Yeah.
if you did, 10 horror icons, the top 5 most easily named are Michael, Jason, Freddy, and Pennywise.
Yeah, it's
I think those
possible.
would be the top 4.
You can't get it from me because I'm too much of a horror fanatic.
It's
so.
true. You could probably tell me Leatherface's like real name and date of birth.
Well,
or stuff like
I mean,
that.
for me, I'd be getting into like, oh man, there's Chucky, there's all these. I'd be going to like,
Hellraiser.
there's so many, But yeah, and then like for me, Scream comes to mind as a
Ghostface.
big one, But yeah, ultimately, I enjoyed most of the acting, writing. It's hard to say. Some of the writing stuff I enjoyed, but I really do feel there's some editing that I don't know. It just feels like
Are we going to get a director's cut that makes it actually worthwhile?
That's what I would love to see is if we do get a director's cut, because they're just there feels like there's a couple things missing there. Feels like there's some stuff that potentially connected us to that ending better that we didn't see, but it's funny though, when we were sitting in the theater, I remember just thinking to myself, man, Peter's not going to like this as the credits are rolling. So because again, I knew you're more of a fan of the book. For me, I was just like, cool, I'll give them some credit for some of this wild ass shit they fucking did.
See, and I don't have a problem with some of the changes they made. Charlie getting away and being in the woods and kind of doing like a little montage of training and
not killing a crow. I do appreciate
I don't know
that.
why they cut that out. They should have done that instead of the cat. Crows are evil.
No.
They carry bad people.
No, Randall Flagg
Bad
needs to. He wouldn't be within a fucking state of her.
Yeah, it's just get his ass kicked by her.
Certainly not as a raven. If he was to approach her in any way, he'd
Oh,
be
as
in
a
his
crow, not a
he'd,
raven.
he'd be in his full man in black or jean jacket.
Yeah,
form.
even more flammable.
I don't know about that.
Denim is way more flammable than a crow is.
Flag wouldn't be though.
Flag burns pretty well. I'm sorry.
No, only when you're splitting the atom, sir.
And Charlie can do that.
John Carpenter.
Oh, the
score
was
fucking.
score was the best part of the movie.
Yeah, it was.
It really was.
Far and away, it was probably my favorite part was the score, dude. It was great.
There were times where, I think you said this in the video, there were times where it was just like, God, that's really well done.
Yeah.
Like, stop. So if you're at home, you pause it and you just go, damn, that was well done.
Yeah. Yeah. Special effects, they did a great job. You mentioned the cat. There was a
special
few
effects
people that
was
got
really
burned and
good.
stuff that was like, there was some special effects where I was like, dude, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
It was brutal as fuck, but it was done well.
It was.
It never felt cheap or like poorly done to me, which is good because nowadays it's really easy to look poorly done with special effects.
Yes.
A lot of times as a horror connoisseur, one of my biggest pet peeves is when they do like too much computer effects when it comes to blood and stuff, and I'm just like, dude, hire Tom Savini and just do it like they did in the 80s because it'll look great.
Mixing up a little fake blood, I mean, they sell them by the bottles,
By the gallons.
by the gallons. Like, what's wrong here?
Yeah.
Are you squeamish?
Yeah, I mean, come on, just do it.
You're making a horror movie. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, blood and fire. Those are the two things for me. They never do them well, special effects for me.
Yep.
They never look right. Like, just give me fucking fake blood, give me real fire, or, like gallons of real fucking, like, whatever
Blood,
they've made,
yeah.
And then fire, just because I always see CG fire, and I'm just like, it doesn't look right.
Like, what do you mean? Like the fireballs in the first Firestarter?
They did good with the fire in this one, though. I will say, if they did do some special effects, they did a good job. Because I do think there was some real stuff. I think they were using some real flamage there. In this movie, we always saw that behind the scenes thing with the fire trucks and stuff. So I'm certain they were probably lighting some people on fire for real, which is always fun.
It is.
It's got to be nerve-wracking on set, but it's fun. Any other thoughts?
No? You?
No, not really. Like I said, the score I really enjoyed. a lot of the actors. Some of the choices, like I said, I know you don't like them. Some of the choices I'm at least okay with. I do wish that it was a little bit more cohesive, I guess, because again, I wonder if there's some scenes that we lost that we got. So what do you call it, like the sinew, that connect the muscle and the bone together. I feel like some of that was chopped out and just felt kind of, I don't want to say cookie cutter, because I think that was more the first one for me.
Yeah.
The first one just felt like, oh, here's this and paint by the numbers cookie cutter. That's what the first one felt like to me, except for the judo chop to the face and Drew Barrymore. But this one, I think there was some stuff to love, but there was obviously some choices they made that were interesting. So
I'm gonna kind of avoid Firestarter probably for at least the rest of the year, because it's just gonna make me mad when I listen to it. Be like, motherfuckers, I could have had that.
Yeah, well, we'll have to keep an eye out, see if maybe there's a director's cut or something.
We should
on the discs, if we get a disc, because it is also on streaming right away. So that's always
I guess we didn't say that. Yeah, it's in theaters and it's on
Peacock. Yeah,
is the streaming service that it
in the U.S.
In the U.S.
Internationally, I don't know.
That's true. Who knows with internationally?
Yeah, and I know international folks listening. You guys all know that too. It gets kind of tough for you guys.
Yeah.
What was it, England like 2 years behind on like Disney Plus or HBO Max? One of the two.
Yeah.
They were like way behind, and it's like, dude, how does that even happen? This is global now. This shit should be all going for everyone right away. But yeah, so that'll be it for this episode. Let's go ahead and close up shop. First thing, if you want to subscribe or rate and review us on any of your podcast services, you can do that. We would appreciate that. If you want to stream us, you can do that on Spotify or Stitcher. You can find the show notes, darktowerpalaver.com. All the stuff we covered today, I'll have linked over there, including the GIFs that Peter loves so much. I'll have those in the show notes too, because the people listening on the podcast need to know what you were so reacting about. Like you were, I don't know about overreacting, but maybe overreacting.
I'm not overreacting.
People on the podcast side need to know, so those will be on there as well. Find that over there, the darktowerpalaver.com over at the show notes. If you want to become a patron, you can support the show. You can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. I actually think I forgot to mention that on the opening of the show, now that I think about it. But yeah, if you do want to do that, you can do that over there. We have our a chat that we do all the time. It's always fun to torment Peter throughout the week, send emojis and stuff like that, as well as we have monthly hangouts.
Yep.
Normally we would have had the monthly hangout now, but because of my voice, we're going to delay that. So Patreon people, we'll be getting back to you with an extra one here pretty soon. That would have been yesterday, but with my voice the way it was, I didn't know how I would hold up, so I didn't want to add any more to it.
Yeah, we didn't want to risk doing the hangout and then you not having a voice today.
Yeah, that would have been terrible, because then it would have just been you slandering flag the whole time. Imagine that. If I didn't have
by myself.
No, but I was gonna say, if I didn't have a voice,
could I just duct tape like tape you to your chair and duct tape your mouth shut, and I can go for 3 hours, and then you get a turn?
And I'll just be blinking, like Morse code, like call the FBI or something,
I'm pretty sure that I would get arrested if I did that.
Yeah.
Like on stream, have you duct taped? I'm pretty sure that's kidnapping.
Well, that or a slandering flag. I'm sure the federal government would come after you for that, too.
The federal government would not. If I slander the shop, maybe.
What do you got here for the outro stuff?
So if you want to contact us, the best way to do it is email us at darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. We stream all of our shows. It's here, youtube.com/darktowerpalaver, as well as our bonus content videos are going on there, so watch for those. Like the video, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications for when we drop videos and when we go live. Scheduling reminder. There will not be an episode in 2 weeks.
In a fortnight.
No. Sorry, Ted. In a fortnight,
yes.
There will not be an episode on the 4th of June. We are doing a blockbuster 2 episodes in one day on June 11th, starting at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 4 p.m. Eastern Time, so you can go off of there and figure out what time it is for you. The second episode will be starting at 4:15 Mountain Time, 6:15 Eastern Time.
Yep.
So a little bit earlier than we normally start. Again, like and subscribe and ring the bell so you get notifications for when we are going live, in case you forget.
Yeah.
They are also scheduled on YouTube, so you can also go and see that as well. And then our social media is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Our Twitter is @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. Our Instagram is darktowerpalaver, all one word, no spaces. And then check out our merchandise. It's tpublic.com/users/darktowerpalaver.
Yes, indeed. And then we will sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank you guys for joining us. It's always fun to have you guys along with us.
Bonus thing for the YouTube people, I looked it up. Frances Fisher plays the mom in Titanic. You'd know her if you saw her.
Interesting. Yeah. Let's see. Mike says, good night. See you in July. We'll be back before July.
June.
Yeah, we're back in June. We're just not back. We're not back 2 weeks from now. We're back 3 weeks from now. So
Yes.
unless you
Did I say July?
Unless you can't join us until July. In that case,
I didn't say July, did
I
I?
don't think you did. No, I think you said June. I think. I don't know.
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
If I did, correct it.
I might be getting punchy. I can't correct it. What am I? What do you think I am? Some kind of
Wizard?
editing wizard or something?
Yeah,
Oh,
go on.
he says I'll miss 6/11, my 15th wedding anniversary.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, congratulations on the wedding anniversary.
Thanks
So-
for the mini heart attack,
and
Mike.
and thank you for scaring Peter. That's always fun. I always love that. It's just like those gifts. I gotta say that did bring warmth to my heart.
Of course it did.
To see you reacting that way.
You're a monster.
But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. You guys are awesome. Mike, I'll see you in July then. And
Mike,
I'm sure you'll-
Josh, Zach, Carol popped in. There was one other one. I don't want to
Alan?
miss it. Alan, that's the other one. Alan. Alan.
don't you dare, you dirty bastard.
Alan.
Jurassic Park 3.
That's if anyone wants to harass Tad in the Patreon, send him that gif of the raptor going, Alan.
That's when I knew the Jurassic Park freaking franchise was dead. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. You guys are awesome. We will be back in
3 weeks.
3 weeks. I can't say a fortnight. That makes me sad. We'll be back in 3 weeks.
Is it a spoon night if it's 3 weeks?
It's not fork night.
Oh,
It's fortnight.
so
Because it's
is
14.
it,
Because it's 14 nights.
14. So what's 21 nights?
I don't know.
21 Bridges?
That was an all right movie.
21 Jump Street?
I don't know about that.
That was a funny ass movie. I'm sorry, that was a funny ass movie. If you haven't watched 21 Jump Street,
I
you
have
should
not.
watch it. It's fucking hilarious.
I haven't. But yeah, thank you guys. We'll see you in 3 weeks on the 11th for a long episode.
I got it. I figured it out. Fortnight plus a week.
Yeah.
There it is.
Fortnite plus. Yeah, that's
There
true.
it is.
All
Got
right.
it.
See you guys.
Bye.